G'day guys, welcome to episode 36 of the Drew Pavlis Show. Today I'm going to be watching live as Bad Empanada and Hasan Piker, have a nice, lovely chin wag together. It's actually pretty sickening. There's probably a new low, I think, for
the Yemeni one does. I didn't even look at him. He's hotter than the Palestinian token, I'll be honest.
The Palestinian token guy, oh my God, he's I don't know if I have a video on where I cover him, but his story, it's incredibly sad, and then it's also pathetic.
Oh, they're attacking John.
He lost like 20 family members in Gaza during the war.
Talk about Ahmed for him.
And he weaponizes that to do pro-Israel propaganda. He's like, I don't blame Israel for this. I blame Hamas. Blah 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 blah. Oh my God, it's so pathetic and disgusting.
I mean,
No one will touch
Hamas.
He could be saved, but I was wrong. Son of Hamas is just a joke.
I mean, he's
honestly.
a Mossad operative, isn't he?
No. His story is way funnier. Okay, he wasn't a Mossad operative. He was a Shin Bet operative.
Oh yeah, Shin Bet.
So in the West Bank, and he ended up he had to leave the West Bank for his own safety, obviously, because he was a Shin Bet operative, and the Israelis did not help him. The Israelis did not let him enter Israel because he's a Palestinian. He's still a Palestinian. So he had to go to the US and beg for refugee status. He was initially denied refugee status until the Israelis shipped over a bunch of former Shin Bet members to testify that he was a great servant to Israel. And then they gave him refugee status. So he worked for Israel. He sold his soul. He sold his soul for Israel, and he still was not allowed in Israel. He had to go to the US.
Is he now allowed in Israel at least?
I don't think he's ever been to Israel, as far as I know.
No.
He went straight from Palestine to the US.
No. That motherfucker
he might have been, I'm not sure, but
bro,
did not let him live there.
No way. He must be. Because, dude, I feel like I've seen him on Israeli television.
He lives in the US. He usually is on video link and stuff, but he speaks he does the tour. The speaking tour in US universities is how he makes his money, most of it. And he might have visited Israel, but he's not allowed to live there.
Bro, he's such a nasty little fucking freak, dude. I hate him. He is the worst of the worst. He's such
the thing, at least
scumbag.
he's so bad that he's so bad and obvious that he's easy to ignore, I feel, because it's most people will discard him out of hand unless they're already Zionists.
Well, also because half of the people are going to be like, you're Muslim, I don't care about you. So there's that too.
Yeah.
But no, it's my favorite Zionist is Rabbi Shmuley, because I think he's basically creating anti-Zionists everywhere he goes. You could have motherfuckers who are like, listen, I went to Jewish camp. I grew up loving Israel, and then the one time that they stand next to Rabbi Shmuley, they're like, I'm done. I'm over. We have to dismantle.
I don't know anything about him. I mean, I've mostly heard him because I've seen anti-Semites talk about how much they hate him. So you're anti-Semitic by association. I'm sorry.
No. I think that he is not he's gross, but I don't think he's he doesn't anger me. I think it's funny is what I'm saying.
He went on Piers Morgan and said on October 7th there was 400 bloody breasts that were cut off of women.
Yeah, and they played soccer. He said they chopped off Jewish women's breasts and played soccer with them.
400 of them as well.
Man, that's where Ethan Klein gets all the shit that he makes up about himself from Israel. It's like they mail him the skulls, they cut off the boobs.
Right now.
Same sort of shit.
Insane anti-Semitism.
I don't understand what any of that. See, that's the other thing. I don't give a fuck about the drama stuff that happens to Ethan at all. So that was also really weird when he was trying to fucking pin this shit on me, and I was like, did you ever get evidence that someone called CPS? And he was like, no.
That's another thing. I have not seen him provide any evidence that it even happened. And we're talking about the CPS shit. They're going to be so angry about it. I don't know. I'm not going to take anything this guy says at face value. He doesn't deserve that, given the shit that he says about other people and given the fact that he just makes shit up all the time. But
I just don't understand how this is pinned on whoever the fuck he seemingly is beefing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who was backed into a corner. I feel like he knows deep down that he can't, he's defending something that is indefensible. And when you're in that situation, you scream victim, and And that's what he's been doing. Even if the CPS call did happen, like creating a victim narrative out of that is insane. It's just like a little checkup on your kids for a day or two. Like, give me a fucking break, dude. He treats it like he was raided by SEAL Team 6 and the concubine guy took his kids to be like his janissary or something. The concubine guy, if you don't know, is the guy who
Hello,
the guy, one of the SEAL Team 6, the one who killed.
Yeah, I heard about the Joe Budden's diagnosis.
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend they are.
But I'm watching
but
the
one of them.
Listen, we're watching
they
the
are.
Hasan,
like a bunch of twinks on Twitter that without social
Oh,
media, you would
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
concubine.
You're talking about Mick Booyah.
That's my reference. Yeah. So he's treating it like that guy came in with SEAL Team 6 and kidnapped his kids to be his fucking concubine or something. Okay, that is the narrative that Ethan Klein is going with here. It sounds like he got swatted, basically. And dude, it's just a visit from CPS. Should someone have called them on you, like a random viewer? No, you shouldn't give a fuck about this guy and his kids enough to do that. But like, he's treating it like he's he's been victimized in a fucking absurd way, and it's not what happened at all. And he's been doing this more and more and more. He's a victim of harassment. Everyone's harassing him. People called Hila a terrorist. There's no discussion of whether, by his own definition, she merits that label or not, which is, by the way, how I got involved in this in the first place. Because I saw what he was saying about Rashid, and it fucking offended me that he sees a Arab teenager when, by his own logic, his wife fits that definition that he was using. So, think a little bit before you say dumb shit.
Luckily, this fucking CPS agent certified, CPS, or not CPS, sorry, Customs and Border Patrol, CBP agent certified. Rashid al-Haddad vindicated. The American government's official position is that Rashid al-Haddad is not a Houthi. Okay, I think we could put the bed these claims, because I would otherwise be in jail right now, I guess, and be a precedent-setting legal case that undermines free press and free speech in this goddamn country.
Yeah, dude, he's definitely free press.
Yeah, I mean, and then are the Houthis terrorists? Aside from by that definition, you don't come in because they might arrest you. In my opinion, they are not. Because
I told him that. I did tell him that. I was like, I think.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That's a bad idea.
No, I know. I told him I did like the softest approach. I was like, I'm of the mindset of the Brookings Institute when they wrote a report in 2020 that Donald Trump's assessment on his way out of the administration to declare the Houthis a terrorist organization was actually quite problematic, because it actually rendered aid. It stopped the rendering of aid. And it actually had zero impact.
Dude, that's
on
so
the
bullshit, because it's actually the Houthis who have weaponized aid in Yemen. They've actually laid an entire town called Taiz to siege for more than 5 years now. Hundreds of thousands of civilians denied water and food because of what the Houthis have done.
Would even be talking about them. Like, I don't know enough about what the Houthis have done aside from that to say that they haven't committed terrorism.
Good comment by Free October. If these guys ever had power, we would all be in a fucking concentration camp. Like, this is how sick these guys are.
And people just harp on that. Like, if this guy was actually Houthi, if he had actually helped to hijack ships, good on him.
That's sick.
Yeah,
man.
this is the thing, like, that I tried to explain to everyone that doesn't listen, because I think that they care more about like a gotcha in their minds. But I was like, I don't care if he's a fucking Houthi, dude. I thought he was before I interviewed him. He has no reason to fucking lie to me. He said he's not a Houthi, and then we moved on to other shit. Like, but even if he was a fucking Houthi, it's not going to stop me from interviewing him. And I've stressed this so many fucking times, and people literally don't understand. They're like, nah, we got you, bro. You admitted he was a Houthi, and then you lied and you said he wasn't because you're scared. And it's like, no, I'm not. I think it's my constitutionally protected right as an American citizen to actually fucking conduct an interview with a member of the Ansar Allah administration if I fucking want to.
Fuck
okay, I will have a Al Houthi family member if I want to. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I saw some of the slop tubers set up the argument that you shouldn't have done that by saying, like, well, Osama bin Laden was interviewed, and that's not necessarily something that shouldn't be allowed to happen. But in Hasan's case, it's actually different for actually no reason at all, just because.
No, the reason is because they say Hasan glazed them. He asked them about fucking
One Piece
and shit.
You talked
That's
about
what it is.
anime.
Where they're so stupid. It's like,
they didn't talk about anime with Osama
I
bin
asked a
Laden.
19-year-old Yemeni teenager who, even if he was a part of the fucking Houthi movement, I would not consider to be like an enemy of America, or even if he was an enemy
even
of
though
America,
they're fucking attacking civilian
good.
shipping,
We
which is a war
deserve to
crime.
have
They're
a
literally
lot of these
allegate.
fucking
Guys, they're
enemies.
actually supporting
Like,
war crimes on the
what the
stream
fuck are
right
we
now.
talking
They're
about? What are
literally
they
supporting war
supposed to
crimes on the
love
stream.
us? Like, we did a fucking man-made blockade that created massive famine in the goddamn country, and we weren't even brave enough to do it ourselves. We let the fucking Saudis do it with our goddamn weapons and our fucking Air Force and our munitions. It was Boeing rockets that blew up the goddamn school bus in fucking Sanaa and shit. And oh my god, I can't believe they're walking over the Israeli and the American flag. Like, suck my dick, dude. They can do whatever the fuck they want with the American flag and the Israeli flag. I wipe my ass with the American flag. Fuck this.
Dude.
Yeah. Do you?
But
You might get arrested for that soon.
I know, but it's like, I mean, this is the shit I do say all the time, and then people will clip it and be like, look, he's so radical and he's so scary. And it's, yeah, let's not investigate why people would be so resentful about America. Let's just simply talk about how Hasan only says America bad. You
Well,
know?
look, the next
Yeah, I
time
mean,
someone yells at you about that
in
and they
most of
clip you,
these
you should be like,
situations, it's true.
hey, send them to me and tell them to debate me. Not because I want to like be your champion or something, but because I need people to debate because I destroy them and they're all scared. And I need someone to send them to me. So could you think about that?
Okay, I'll ask them to debate you in the
I
future.
would be the biggest fucking debate, bro, but I can't fucking find people to debate. Like
Guys,
the people who debate me, like
just to
random
be
Reddit
clear,
commenters. who,
like Bad
send me
Empanada and
emails
Hasan
saying,
Piker
like,
just advocated war
man,
crimes on the stream. They were endorsing
I'm an
Houthi terror
Ethan
attacks
Klein
on
fan.
civilian
I wanted to
shipping,
talk about
advocating
this
war
thing that you
crimes
said.
on the
It's like,
stream. Hasan Piker
I
quote 2 hours
respect that
45
you're willing
mins.
to
I
debate
wipe my
me,
ass with the
but
American
I
flag. That's
prefer
what he
to speak to
says.
someone
So
who's
you have to
like
actually
a
ask,
YouTuber or
why
a
is
Twitch
this guy
streamer
an
or
American
something, rather
citizen?
than a random guy.
It's not gonna happen. The only reason why they do it to me is because, one, I have a lot, like, no disrespect to you, but you are in the filth all the time. So like, it's very hard to tackle your image in that way. Like, it doesn't matter if they clip you out of context. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
and then also on
you should
top
get
of
the knife
that,
and be like this.
not only that, but also like you're what was I gonna say? I'm forgetting. It's fucking so late. Holy shit! I've been live since 11. I'm on my 10th hour right now.
Did you hear the shit they were saying about you? I haven't seen that
Yeah.
yet. I haven't seen that yet.
Yesterday at 4 p.m.
Hasan keeps going lower and lower. It's
They
genuinely
won't-
insane. It
they-
actually
they'll
is.
never do it because like
Hasan is
they
pro-kidnapping
don't care
Filipinos.
about
Insane.
anything. They just like want to.
You can't remove
drive home a
citizenship from
fucking
someone who's born in the
narrative.
US. Yeah, well, maybe
I
sometimes
mean,
they
I
should be
get
able
views,
to for
though,
people who
actually,
support
like,
terrorism.
people, when they put me in the title, they actually get views, which is surprising. So
I don't think it's
that
surprising.
might entice them. I mean, I'm not that well known.
Okay, the mic. You guys are muted. One sec.
He can
shit.
decolonize himself. Yup, decolonize
I
yourself.
fucked up. One sec. Oh, no, they're laughing. They're sharing so many laughs anti-Semitically. Hold on, you guys are muted, just letting you know.
Guys, what were they saying
Ethan
about
Klein
me?
debate me.
Okay, you're back. Ethan Klein debate me. He said
Hello.
that you got challenged.
Yeah, I was saying, Ethan Klein, debate me, Ethan Klein. Don't be a pussy. You can confront me. You can ask me why I called CPS. Did I call CPS? Let's find out, Ethan. You can ask me why I sent the skulls. Ethan, let's do it. Let's
Debate him.
go. Ethan.
See, that's what I
Ethan
mean. Like,
Klein.
I'm not interested in any of these conversations. I
This
don't.
is activism. This is revolution.
That's what I mean. I like. I don't really care about this stuff at all. I mean, it's a good entry point for you potentially to get Ethan to talk to you, but I don't think he's going to do it. Like I was saying, they're going to chop this up. They're going to chop this up in a way where it's like, they'll chop it so much that it'll come across like I said I called CPS or something. Like right now, right this at this very moment, they're going to cut it like 2-second clip. And his fucking audience is so stupid that they will believe it. That's what pisses me off about everything. Like, sure, we talk about politics, we talk about the pessimism that we feel, but goddamn, there's nothing dumber than a fucking slop tuber enjoyer who unironically has an inflated sense of fucking intelligence from watching some of the dumbest people on the planet try to talk about complex political issues. There's nothing that breaks my brain more than like having to fucking entertain a guy who can't even string 3 fucking sentences together, being like trying to repeat the talking points that they got from the likes of Ethan fucking Klein, who a couple years prior they would have openly recognized is a dumbass who is only predisposed with goofs and fucking gaffes. Or has been
what
called.
about Ethan Klein's like original, like the way he gets his talking points in the first place is from like a game of telephone from his 5 staff members in ChatGPT. So, and then by the time it gets to the other slop
tubers, like Dan Stalkman and fucking Sex Pest and Boner Box. Like I think it's those guys that are giving him talking points.
You could tell, like in the debate with you, when he started talking over you, he was actively asking ChatGPT for talking points, and he would just read them verbatim, and he had never actually read them before. He was just going over them in that moment, especially during the part about like the Jewish expulsions. Yeah. Holy shit, that was the most obvious ChatGPT moment I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think it was ChatGPT. I suspect it was Boner Box that gave him like he clip chimped Avi Schleim, dude. Mm-hmm. That was so fucking devastating. I was like this is such a disservice to hundreds of thousands of people that are gonna fucking watch this and believe you. Like you are deluding hundreds of thousands of people. It makes me so
was such
mad.
A fucking shit show as well. Like literally,
no shame, guys. He's gone
over you,
been
reading like an entire thing that someone else sent him while you're still speaking. Like, oh, holy fuck. That would be my debate with him. But the thing is, I would like scream back at him. I would scream louder and I would win. So it's okay.
Yeah, that's not how that works. If I had screamed at any given moment in that over the course of 5 hours and 40 minutes, that would be the only thing that they plastered. Triggered. Because the conversation that I had with Ethan Pryor, where he like cried at the end of it because people were being mean to him, was literally only remembered by all of these fucking debate pornographers who only care about the blood sport, except for that one conversation that me and Ethan had 2 fucking years ago at this point, where Ethan Klein left crying. At that point, they said, Hasan, you're so mean. And that was the only narrative because they recognized that there was no fucking argument that Ethan could present that looked good. So they literally just hyper-focused on how fucking mean I was when I told him I was entertaining him with kitty gloves. And it's mind-boggling how quickly these fucking debate pedophiles will switch off. At one point, they fucking love the blood sport. But as soon as it's like no longer fashionable to love the blood sport because their side in the conversation is like losing the conversation, then the debate pedophiles turn around and hit
debate
the
pedophiles. Hasan is a rich grifter and the other bloke is a mentally ill racist.
Podcast co-host.
Yeah, like if those people.
Hasan fake cried on Ethan's podcast.
I mean, it's also like I hope you've learned since then that these people do not deserve you being nice to them. These people either directly support or tacitly support child murder, mass child murder. That's ultimately
he's so
what
mentally ill. He's so unbelievably mentally ill.
Be mean to them. If they feel bad, if they feel harassed, honestly, great. I don't give a fuck. Fuck them. Fuck each and every one of them. We need to be mean to these guys. We need to be assholes. They deserve it. They really do deserve it.
I think that there's no winning over the fucking slop tuber audience.
Dude, he's literally the definition of a slop tuber.
They're
too parasocial.
They have a stranglehold. They have a stranglehold on so much on the dumb guy contingency. And I think there was a point.
See, like the same people who used to like screech about people crying about anti-Semitism are now doing that because suddenly Ethan Klein is their friend.
Yeah, I know. It's so ridiculous. I mean, the people themselves, they say anti-Semitic shit. They say actually anti-Semitic shit, and then they turn around and they're like, "Wow, these guys are being big anti-Semites." Fucking so annoying. Anyway, I gotta go to bed. I'm so tired.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
Noah,
guys.
do you have someone else? No problem. It's finally great to talk to Hasan Piker, the
Yeah.
perfidious Ottoman. The Ottoman Hasan Piker has been confronted by Bad Empanada, wanted international
From jail.
criminal, multiple
Yeah.
counts of
My
crimes
roommate.
committed by Bad Empanada,
My best
platformed
friend.
by Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker, anti-Semite, platformed Bad Empanada on his stream.
Yeah.
Agrees with everything
Someone
he
get that
says.
to the New York Post, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
The New York Times.
He
even.
agrees with everything that I
The
say.
New York Times. Get it to get it to
promotes it.
CNN.
Do you condemn him? No, he says.
Do you condemn Bad Empanada?
That's so funny. That's gonna be the next question. All right.
Piers Morgan.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
forgot to
Thanks
say
for coming
something.
on.
I've had people stopped at the border of the U.S. and asked about their association with me. So next time it might happen.
For real?
Okay. Well, we'll
Oh,
see.
yeah.
I want to put it past them. They asked me about my Twitch bans, so. All right.
Next
Peace,
time.
everybody.
Sabra hummus. Bye.
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 I'm going to keep watching, and I'll go back to the start of
That's the
whole thing,
greeting,
guys.
You have someone else coming on, Noah?
I have someone at 10:30.
What time is it now?
It's 10:10, so 20 minutes. So we
All
can
right. I haven't
debrief.
drunk water in like 3 hours, so I should probably go.
Yeah, it's late.
Noah
What time
Simpson's
is it for you?
disgusting, guys. Look at him in his fucking catboard
2
suit. Disgusting.
a.m.
So
Oh
disrespectful.
God, yeah. Go drink some water, man.
In my undisclosed location, no one knows where it is. Definitely not Argentina.
Delicious
But,
water from prison. You own that guy's ass, dude.
I'll give you permission to put one of my videos on if you want to take a break until
Oh,
your next
sure,
guest
yeah.
comes on.
Yeah, I'll do that.
The one about the lies they told about South African apartheid. I think that's a good one to show all the people who are still here because of Hasan having been here.
Yes. Free promo. Also, you said you don't want me to get a tattoo if I hit 500K of your
Not of
logo?
me.
Channel
Please, not
logo.
of
Not your
me.
face. Not your face.
I just linked the video. Like you just play that for the next 20 minutes if you want. It's about that long.
Sure.
And
Wait.
but please don't get a tattoo of me. I don't know what you should get a tattoo of, but not of my logo. I'm probably going to change my channel name and logo at some point because it's childish and what a fucking name. Bad. What the fuck? I don't want to be known as that. Fuck.
Yeah.
Bad Empanada. No, please. I need a real name. Not that.
There's a lot of you're carrying a lot of baggage with the name. Yeah. Just change your name.
No, not
Change your
because of that. It
location.
sounds like what is that even? It doesn't
Bad
mean it's so
Empanada.
stupid.
It's pretty stupid.
The empanada is bad because it smokes cigarette and has a backwards cap. Do you get it? What was I thinking?
He's
Worst mistake of
naughty.
my life.
Naughty Empanada.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a joke. Anyway,
I won't do it.
so I'm gonna head out.
Uncle
because
Piker
it's
is
2
running out of
a.m.
time. His
Yeah.
youthful years
Thank you
are
for
escaping him,
finally
just like his hairline. I
facilitating
will
my
celebrate his son's
conversation
40th
with
birthday along with him very
the
soon. Yeah,
perfidious
he's
Ottoman
getting very
Turk.
fucking old, isn't he?
We did it.
Hasan Piker.
We did it, chat.
Literally everything about these people is a
And,
projection.
play the
Fundamentally
video
how
if
broad
you
of
want. You have my
self-awareness they are.
permission.
Yeah,
Bye,
literally
everyone.
facts.
Everybody say bye, chat. Bye bye. Wow. What an incredible moment in time.
We'll go back to watch the start. Let's watch the start because we tuned in about 2 hours, 30 minutes in.
Okay. Back in live, I believe. We're at 245,000 plus 20,000 plus 12,000.
Hell yeah. Get
It's a
everyone
lot.
here.
It's a lot of money. Okay, I think we're back. Hello, people.
Yeah, you're live again.
We just all agreed to support each other and agree with everything that each of us say always, and we're best friends, and we're moving. I have to bleach my hair.
Oops.
200.
Get
It's a
everyone
lot.
here.
It's a lot of money. Okay, I think we're back. Hello, people.
Yeah, you're live again.
This is
Just,
genuinely the
all
lowest of the
agreed
low.
to
I actually
support
completely
each other
agree,
and
Nike,
with
man.
everything that each of us say always, and we're
Dude,
best
do you
friends.
still
and we're
listen to
moving in
Kanye West
we're
music?
moving
I was like a
Yeah.
top
I'm
1%
going to
fan.
the Argentinian prison
I don't
that you guys
listen
are
as
streaming out
much
of.
really at all.
jail.
You should just leave the US, by the way. I don't know why you don't just do that.
What
I'm
is
sure
your
you have
beef
like
with
100
these
friends
guys?
you all love
I mean,
there,
they're
but you should
insane
just leave the
terror
US. It
supporters
makes everything way
mentally.
easier. You can't get sued
No.
by Ethan Klein, for example.
Go to Israel.
I have like 100 friends that you all love there, but you should just leave the US. It makes everything way easier. You can't get sued
No.
by Ethan Klein, for example.
Go to Israel.
No, I was just talking about this earlier because there was like a prominent liberal academics who study fascism are leaving the United States, and here's why. There was like a New York Times article on it, but it's like I'm stubborn. I'm a very stubborn person, and I feel like I'd rather stick it out and see where it goes rather than to leave the United States of America.
Well, I used to think that the US actually was probably the best place to be because it's one of the few countries where you basically can't get arrested purely for speech unless you're like threatening someone. But now, no, obviously not.
Yeah, no. Now it's resembling more and more Israel every day. It's wonderful. My favorite country. The most
America is
and
becoming
Israel
a
high.
fucking psycho.
Yeah, so I hear you're a liberal Zionist, Hasan, and I hear
Yeah, I'm a
Ben's
liberal
a
Zionist.
pedophile.
But
So
going
how
back
do I
to
get
going back to what we were talking about. Going back to what we were talking about.
go
Because
back.
the point I was
You
trying
said
to
a whole
make
thing.
is
I
that,
never
Does Hasan think he's an intellectual? Yeah, he somehow does.
got the chance to respond.
yeah, exactly.
What
Like
was
with
his
Chris
point?
Van Hollen, do you understand my perspective?
Hasan is, I think, 33 years old. Yeah, he's literally 7 years out from 40.
Or like the framework that I operate off of, like
You're
where
saying
I
that one individual thing they did was a good thing, basically.
yeah. I don't shy away from politicians unless they're like insane. You know what I mean? Unless they're unless like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, and I'm gonna look like a fucking clown ass.
Listen, Hasan Piker literally has video of him saying, "I will never ever debate or showcase or promote Bad Empanada because he's insane." He literally said that, and then now look at what he's doing.
I don't shy away from.
And yeah, these guys are just like hardcore mentally ill terrorists.
Giving credit to politicians and offering positive reinforcement to politicians when I feel like they're doing something that I think is appropriate, like moving the needle in the direction, because it's the same framework that I operate with within the Democratic Party, where like these are the available platforms of influence, and I will always go there because as long as our interests align, I have no issue going to those platforms, because at the end of the day, they are giving more legitimacy to myself and vice versa, in my opinion.
I mean, giving you legitimacy, what's the point of that, really? What is the point of them giving you legitimacy if, in the end, you do kind of demonstrate support for them in many cases? That's the thing. I think people see you very much as the Bernie Sanders guy, even though that is sort of contradicted by what you said earlier. Maybe it's erroneous, but people very much see you as like a big Bernie Sanders supporter. I wouldn't say I see you as like a big Bernie Sanders supporter. I think I see you more as someone who maybe doesn't like what he says, but is a little iffy on making that clearer, which I think you sort of did just a second ago. I think you preempted everything I said about you when you were ready with that. It's cheating.
No, I actually have talked about this quite a bit, even before and after your statements, as a matter of fact. But you know how it is with clips. You probably don't get that from.
I mean, I do watch what you say sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I don't click. I don't go to any place that posts like a clip saying, I don't think such a place would even exist. Like Hasan Piker says positive thing about Bernie Sanders. He's a 20-second clip of it. I don't know. What place would that be?
I talk for 8 hours a day. It's very hard for you to in any, like, unless you're watching 8 hours a day, you're probably not going to see the exact same thing that I told you just now. I've spoken about probably 25 to 35 times whenever some chatter comes in and annoys me, and then I go on a fucking long and convoluted rant about.
You should stop reading your chat, by the way.
Yeah, that's part of the puzzle. That's part of how I do this this back and forth. But
I like
it's
just right now, real quick. Like Bad Empanada, you made like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 videos talking about the AOC Bernie interview, and then I don't know how much you watch of us on talking about it, but like just talking to each other now, clearing that up. Do you feel like that clears up anything now that you see that he's kind of?
No, not really, because I think a lot of that, like there was the initial reaction of the interview, and there was like responses to people who want Hasan, responses to people like who want Hasan but were defending sort of like the whole idea of like engaging with the mainstream Democratic Party and like sort of trying to pull people to your side.
Just to clarify, he's actually mad that Hasan sat down with AOC and Bernie because apparently they're genocidal because they don't support Hamas openly. Insane.
Them and stuff like that.
That's how mentally ill Bad Empanada is.
Yeah, that was basically the whole thing there. It wasn't so much like I said something, Hasan said something, I responded. It was more like that. What I would say is that Americans are way too optimistic with their former politicians. And if there is something you should preach, it's that these people are ultimately fucking useless and you're gonna have to do shit yourself.
Yeah, here's the thing. I understand.
We've got a comment on my Twitch. Thank you guys. Go to my Twitch as well.
That, like,
I'm trying
the
to
modern Democratic Party is entirely
useless.
useless. The Democratic Party is well, it's not entirely useless. They can be put to good use on select issues or across the board. Maybe one day it could, in a totally idealistic world, they could be a functional working labor party. Obviously, we're not there, and we might never get there. And I don't disagree with that. But this is, I just wanted to offer clarity on the framework that I operate off of, because I think that you and I both will recognize that Americans don't have a semblance of class consciousness. And I feel like at this stage, the most important thing you can do is to pull people back from reactionary discourse, pull people back from reactionary ideals. And the best possible way to do that is by constantly reasserting the position over and over again that the Democratic Party has to have a class first politics. And also that, these people that have been targeted as like vulnerable populations, marginalized identities that are presented as your enemy are not actually your enemy at all. It's simply a red herring, a distraction that the reactionary forces uses, and the Democrats are wholly incompetent at dealing with because they don't have this class first politic.
Okay, first thing here is that the whole reason why you have this idea that you have to like, you're sort of stuck into working for the Democratic Party. It's not your fault, obviously, because you aren't every single person in the fucking United States of America. But this is sort of like a self-perpetuating circular logic.
By the way, guys, if you watch on YouTube, you have to leave a like, help us reach more people.
It's the only thing that's there, and then you do not do anything, or you don't.
Yeah, it's so funny. They're both they're basically both saying, "Oh yeah, the problem is that the Democratic Party isn't fully communist," or something like that. If you're watching, guys, we've got about 20 people watching live on YouTube. Please leave a like; it'll help us reach more people.
Build an alternative to that and just keep reinforcing the initial premise over and over again. So Americans are stuck in this sort of rut where it seems like it's completely unrealistic to ever challenge the two-party system, so they don't try, and that's just sort of a self-perpetuating cycle. Because doing something like that takes a long time, takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of people. But this whole Democratic Party, right? People like Bernie Sanders as well very much reinforce this, even if perhaps at some point he didn't mean to. But at some point he was really genuinely trying to challenge the status quo, and he only joined the Democratic Party because he thought he had to win the primaries. It's the only possible way. As an independent, you have no chance. He probably didn't in that moment.
Yeah, it's funny, guys. Like they're talking about Yemen. Hasan didn't even know where Yemen was on the map.
But then there's also the fact that that logic gets you into this rut where you never ever try to do anything else. And there are many other countries where they had very strong two-party systems, and in some cases lasted for like hundreds of years. The two-party system in the USA is younger than in some of those countries that broke it. And they very slowly worked from the ground up, like starting with local politics, building up to like state level.
I disagree with what iPhone Miller had
structures,
said.
using the political capital they got from that. Not like immediately running for president, nothing else like the fucking Green Party or something. What a fucking joke that is. Like they did nothing to run for.
So you should swap the screen.
What I mean is like,
what do you mean?
You have to start small. You have to build up from that until you can eventually challenge on the main stage. Now the issue of this logic for me now is that it's too late. Honestly, I'm not sure that we have time for this sort of thing before the consequences of climate change basically take over the agenda entirely, and where the political system we're trying to get into in this way just totally breaks down. So I mean, I guess people should still do it, but what I'm trying to say is Americans have like this circular logic.
Make your face bigger.
Very much so. Democratic Party.
I'll make it a little bit.
So good for them, and I think that by sort of working with people like Bernie Sanders, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, irrespective of who they are, as individuals, of whether they are genuine or not genuine, and whether they are great people or not, whether they truly believe in some of the shit stuff that they perhaps forced into advocating for, just the same line with the Democratic Party, all of that doesn't really matter, because ultimately what they do is they
That Empanada thinks AOC is like a Zionist terrorist or whatever. Insane.
Where they give people this
So
idea that you have your voice
mentally
in the party. You have your voice here in the party already. AOC is there for you. Bernie is there for you. They're already fighting for you. You don't have to do that much yourself. Maybe you can go to the protest yourself. Maybe you can do something like that. But by golly, you do not try to make your own party. You don't try to do something independently. You don't try to like build an apparatus entirely independent of the party, not like the DSA, but entirely independent of it, where you actually build into something that can meaningfully threaten them and the two-party system, and thus meaningfully start putting pressure on your government to actually really do something internationally as well. And Americans have really failed at that more so than any people in the world, which is, I think, like people say like the US is the belly of the beast, it's hard to do this. I don't think that's true at all. For one, until Trump, the US had the best free speech laws in the entire world, pretty much. You can say basically anything. You can support Hamas. It doesn't matter. Like, that's a great environment for that sort of thing. It's a really good environment for that sort of thing, if anything. Obviously, the electoral college is fucked. That makes it a lot harder. But I mean, Americans never even really tried to get to the steps before that, which is like the Senate and Congress, where those things are less bad. So I feel like there is absolutely a failure in the US for whatever reason. Obviously, people, like, and fucking Twitter Marxists would tell you that's just the way it is. It's a bourgeois controlled political system, whatever. But whatever the reason is, the US is the country, and the United.
Drew Pablo has been arrested for terrorism. Fucking so cringe, dude. Bernie's an economic idiot. The only good thing he does is criticize greedy elites. Bro, why do your donors waste money on you? Lemo Feo, 18 viewers, man. Even after you were mentioned, just came here to donate to hate on you. You anti-Semitic. Fucking retarded, dude. I don't even care. I don't know how these people even get to this point mentally. You guys are just so radicalized, insane, mentally ill. Just know, we all know that you're thoroughly mentally ill. There's something wrong with your fucking brains. You're not normal people. You're not normal people. If you're a fan of these guys, you're not a normal person.
Politically, as a block with anyone in the world to get shit done for people in other countries, but paradoxically, they do nothing. And
by the way, I agree with everything that you said, and it is also a part of my vision. That's why I talked about class consciousness and instilling class consciousness, and also working on.
Cool, we've got some bad Empanada
movements outside the party.
retards on the stream.
Not like
Good for you guys.
organizing, even though that can be valuable as well, but specifically labor unions and building a network of pressure that could actually that actually creates maybe even down the line a third party. I'm not against this at all, and this is not something that I think with the exception of what you just mentioned, the Green Party, obviously, because I think the Green Party is their jokesters who only come around every 4 years. And I mean, I think this is yet another point of. It's just another point of like not knowing the full.
Stay mad. I could pull more viewers than you. Sure, do it, dude. I started streaming last month. Fucking chill.
Perspective.
No, like I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to argue with a clip of you or something. I'm talking to.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm telling you, like, I agree with you completely, and that's a part of my
in what I was responding.
By the way, guys, I'm watching them on 2-speed because it's fucking terrible. Let me know. Do you want me to slow it down? Let me know.
There was what you said about making the Democratic Party more class conscious specifically. I think.
Yeah, I think that's impossible. It's.
As someone who hated Hasan, I genuinely did not imagine he would sink to this level of depravity. Honestly, think that if Hasan was in charge of the US, he would kill millions. Yeah, literally facts. Literally facts. Oh, cool. Dabblestein is here. Josh Dabblestein. Thank you, man. 26 viewers. Yeah, no, it's great, man. 29 viewers now, actually. Yeah, Josh. Honestly, Josh, do you want to hop on the stream? I can send you it as well. We can just literally like live react and just watch this shit. I'll send you a link, Josh. I don't know if you're busy, but hang on. I'm sending you a link now. Do you have rich backers funding your 200 view videos? Dude, what the fuck are these guys on? I work part-time. Like, I never claimed to be a fucking, I don't even know what they fucking want. Don't slow down. Smug and sniffing their own farms. Don't let me down. Yeah, slow it down and just select parts of the chat instead of bothering with the whole thing. Yeah, let's do it, bro. Okay, I've sent you, Josh, I sent you the live stream. Okay, yeah, you're going to have 15 minutes and you're just eating lunch. Yeah, sure. Join in 15 minutes. It'd be good.
Virtually possible. That's why I said it would happen only in an idealistic society. But my goal is to use the platform that I have.
So you don't deny it. Yeah, dude, Mossad pays me for sure. Hell yeah.
Expand on
anything now that you see that.
Oh shit, where did I go?
I have time for this sort of thing before the consequences of climate change. So
the full scope of my perspective
no,
on this.
Like I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to argue with a clip of you or something.
He started calling people who edit videos slop tubers while he's never made his own content. It's hilarious. He's literally never even made a video essay or anything. Hey, Drew, the haters are right. You do look like Holland with hair. Dude, Thank you, guys. Honestly, let the fucking haters come to the stream. They're boosting our numbers.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm telling you, like, I agree with you completely. And that's a part of my framework.
In what I was responding to there was what you said about making the Democratic Party more class conscious specifically. I think,
yeah, I think that's impossible. It's virtually impossible. That's why I said it would happen only in an idealistic society. But my goal is to use the platform that I have and expand on it so that I can, once again, move people away from reactionary politics. And
dude, yeah, he definitely moves people away from reactionary politics. So true. Guys, we've got 29 people watching live on YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, leave a like. Help me reach more people. The more likes we get on the video, the more the YouTube algorithm will recommend it.
And help them focus on a class-first politics. And wherever that goes, if there is a mechanism that can push the Democratic Party into actual submission to class-first politics, then that's great. If that doesn't work, and there's an alternative, if there's an alternative third party out there, the only way that they will reach viability if it's backed by a strong labor movement that actually engages in labor militancy. And even then, I'm not entirely confident that like this can happen in the United States of America. But the reason why I speak on my perspective in the way that I do is because I'm speaking to Americans. And unfortunately, you got to make a lot of burger analogies if you want to get Americans on board. You have to give them hamburgers. Americans are either repulsed by what they perceive to be left politics. I'm not even talking about like revolutionary socialism. I'm talking straight up like basic bare minimum social democratic functions that are afforded by every other comparable OECD state is seen as like radical in this country. Socialism in and of itself is seen as a pejorative in this country. That's why people say like Nancy Pelosi is the worst thing imaginable. She's a socialist. Like obviously that kind of stuff is really stupid, but I think it's indicative of the average American's perspective on this stuff, considering that, you know, America won the Cold War and this is the imperial core. And
the imperial core, so fucking
most
true,
of most of our working class is just either completely oblivious to
the lumpen proletariat
and utterly confused by the notion of class consciousness, or
we got almost 30 people watching live. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live, you have to leave a like. Help us reach more people. YouTube will recommend it to more people if we get more likes on the video.
They're incredibly angry at even the thought of it. Like they're repulsed by it. They get mad about it, which is why I have to temper my commentary on this front.
Well, I think you got to be careful with this notion of class politics in the US, and for a completely different reason to what you said as well, because there is an element to the present system where Americans benefit greatly from doing things to other countries, or they could at least. You know, they in many ways they don't, because Americans are too dumb to even advocate for getting their own fair share from imperialism. But there's two options here, which is like you can appeal to Americans, as in like I'm going to get you a bigger share of Bernie Sanders. I'm going to get you a bigger share of the spoils.
You see, Hasan,
or you could appeal to
Hasan was glazed by the Daily Show and New York Times. The New York Times and the Daily Show were glazing him. It was actually sick. Hang on, so guys, my camera. 1 second, just putting it back on. Always happens. So annoying. Yeah, what do you think of the setup? It's a beautiful setup, guys. Lol, Drew, display your dominance over the haters and Hasan Empanada. Make his screen tiny and yours huge. Put his tiny screen on your cactus. Very true, very true. Yo, bro, my upper affluent background really put me on my Che Guevara era. Facts.
To Americans in a way where like they perhaps see beyond national lines and understand themselves as part of a broader whole of the world. And I think if you like what you were talking about with unions, for example, the average American labor union is like it's basically like I wouldn't even call it a union, like in terms of like
race calls unions, which is not like cop unions, but like corporate unions or unions that are completely servile to the interests of the Democratic Party under the AFL-CIO.
Not even just that, like unions are themselves in general, obviously narrowly focused on the interests of their members. So that's why you get things like the American Big Tent labor unions being like, oh, like let's get the Lockheed Martin float at a parade or whatever. A huge victory for the Lockheed Martin employees.
Yeah, you're mixing and matching a couple different things, but yes, I know what you mean. Of course. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying here is that
guys, isn't it so bad that America has a defense manufacturing?
I think you're looking far too much into the future.
That's crazy, guys.
I'm not even thinking about fucking socialism right now, and people think I'm like a radical communist terrorist. Like I'm not thinking about any of that shit right now. There's so many more immediate concerns that we have to work with, the systems that we have now. Ultimately, I have no faith in Americans ever doing anything, unfortunately. Like if you ask me what are your solutions, I don't have solutions for you, buddy. We have a limited amount of time before she hits the fan. I would have thought previously that something like what is happening in Gaza would cause like a Vietnam level like cultural like schism in the US.
Why would Gaza cause a Vietnam level cultural schism? Most of the people who protest against Vietnam were only mad about the draft. That's a real fact. The only people protesting, like majority of people who protest against the Vietnamese war were people who were mad about the draft. The majority was never the ho 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 Chi Minh guys. The majority was never the guys who were explicitly Viet Cong, pro Viet Cong.
Hasn't actually caused anyone, not even in Europe, where places
20 years. And also there was direct involvement with America.
Hasan leaves his stream to smoke 2 cigarettes every hour and play other people's videos. He could play his own stream clips while he's gone, but he hates seeing his younger self on his
Americans actually going there to fight, which I think is the reason why there was a lot more resistance. Americans are inherently very selfish people, and
Americans
are drawn
into
the fight
people,
themselves in a way that is more meaningful with a draft, not just like the poverty draft, or not just necessarily like a bunch of people that want to get a community.
Oh fuck, sorry.
To challenge this, but they
like I said, this is the exact same shit that I say.
Sanction Israel, we're going to put tariffs on American goods.
But two, if China wanted to, it's Israel.
Or like they perhaps see beyond national lines and understand themselves as part of a broader whole of the world. And I think if you like what you were talking about with unions, for example, the average American labor union is like
real unions have never been tried. So
union, like, in terms of like under the AF members at a parade or whatever. A huge victory for Lockheed Martin employees.
Okay, yeah, you're mixing and matching a couple different things, but yes, I know what you mean. Of course, yeah.
Well,
Drew Pavlou is funded by far right. It's so funny. They're trying to spam the chat now by going, Drew Pavlou is funded by far right millionaire Simon Themic. That'd be goated if I was funded by him. That'd be fucking goated. I'm not, but I wish I still was. It'd be fucking beautiful. All he ever did was donate. Simon's a good bloke. He donated to my political campaign in 2022. That's basically the extent of my involvement. It'd be fucking goated if he wanted to pay for my streams too, but he doesn't. It's fine, guys. It's fine. I literally just live off Twitter ad revenue and I work part-time.
What I'm saying here is that what you were going on about there was about class politics.
Yeah, dude, I can't even properly pay my rent. And it's just like funny that they're going, oh, Simon Fenwick's fucking funding Drew. It'd be great if Simon Fenwick wanted to fund all my live streams. We'd fucking love it. It'd be goated.
USA. I need to get people on board with this idea that socialism isn't bad. I think you're looking far too much.
America to selfish people. Speaking from experience of time. Yeah, facts.
Socialism right now, and people think I'm like.
You're fun. Can I explore that? Absolutely.
I'm not thinking about any of that shit right now. There's so many more immediate concerns that we have to.
Oh, not being mean. Yeah, no, I know, bro. Dude, we're all the same side. I wish I was fucking funded. I wish Mossad would drop the gold parachute, gold bar every day. It's fucking goated. Imagine that. Instead of fucking worrying about my rent,
like what's happening in Gaza would cause like a Vietnam level like cultural. Like,
this is the Vietnam.
They're drawn into the fight themselves in a way that is more meaningful with a draft, not just like the poverty draft, or not just necessarily like a bunch of people that want to get a communications degree for free, going out there and getting their dicks blown off while defending some fucking poppy field in the Korengal Valley, but like literally a draft. Only then will selfish Americans actually get up to aggressively protest in a militant fashion in a way that would truly harm the overall interests of the American State Department.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's the whole thing. It's the whole reason why we're in the place where we're in. The U.S. does not have a rival anymore who needs to compete with that much in terms of geopolitics. China, I mean,
Australian Nazis started the Simon Fenwick rumor because Drew criticized Tom Sewell one time in 2023. Did they start it? That's fucking funny. I mean, it's fucking funny. Just as I suspected. I don't know, man. I could be a turncoat. Drew is funded by empanadas and the haters' mum for services. Watching slop and not prepping. Yeah, guys, we've got a big debate tonight. We've got a big debate. It's going to be Adu the socialist with maybe Jordan van der Lem, Pepper Pringers. And we're going to have a great debate tonight. It'll be very interesting. Drew, if I had a donut, I would instantly sell out my morals and ideals. So true, bro.
I don't know what your stance is on China, but China doesn't do shit. China doesn't want to do shit. China just wants to mind its own business. And that's a huge problem, really. If China tried to do something meaningful regarding what's happening in Gaza, it would probably happen. Like they would be able to do something about it very easily.
I talked about this just yesterday. I 100% agree. There was like a fake TikTok of like Americans dropping in aid that actually killed Palestinians, ironically enough. But they were literally recycling the American aid being dropped into Gaza, but this time like saying China was doing it, and they were like, oh my god, how wonderful that China's dropping aid into Gaza. And one, that was fake. China didn't do that. But two, if China wanted to, it's Israel's second largest trading partner. They could literally fucking say, hey, we are going to bring in our military and our NGOs to distribute aid on the Gaza Strip. What is Israel going to do? Say no to that? They can't fucking do that.
Why would
any country really fucking more than that? Like we saw with the tariff shit, how quickly Trump folded in the face of actual economic consequences from China. They could do something like that to the US if they wanted to. They could do it to Israel. Obviously, it would come at some sort of cost to themselves, but Trump would fold in 2 fucking seconds if China was like, hey, we're going to sanction Israel, or we're going to put tariffs on American goods or something like that. We're going to make the shit cost more. But China does not do that. Yeah. And the USSR was in a position, it wasn't in an economic position, but it was in like a military position and a geopolitical position where it could put a ton of pressure on. So now we have a situation in the world today where the US it's not totally uncontested, but it is way, way more uncontested than it ever has been before. And we're looking at that in Gaza right now, and I can't tell you what to do about it at all. I can tell you what individuals
they're mad that the CCP didn't invade Gaza.
Not going to, but still, even if we all did that, I don't think it would change that much in the grand scheme of things.
I don't disagree with you on anything. And also, like I said, this is the exact same shit that I say on my stream for the most part. I'll take it one step further as far as like China feels in undermining American footholds in its own backyard in the Philippines. I feel like if China operated in the same way as like America did, or even the fucking USSR did for that matter, they could just like arm the Philippine Maoists instead of working with the Duterte government as they did to disarm them and to actively work against them. That's a real destabilizing force in the country. And China doesn't even use it. Instead, they're just doing water spraying operations with their Coast Guard while simultaneously trying to set up an ASEAN security partnership where the Philippines.
Is Hasan seriously advocating that China backed the Philippine Maoists? What the actual fuck? These guys are fucking mental.
Are the only fucking.
Mr. Z, your page is buzzing. Stop watching the video at 2 speed. You can't even comprehend what they're saying at 1 speed. Really? Look, I'll do 1.75. 1.75.
Party that refuses to sign on.
Otherwise, we're going to be here for 3 hours and it'll be fucking boring. Who fucking cares what they're saying? Chris, they attacked me at one point, so we do care. We do care. Free Palestine. So true. Free Palestine from Hamas. I do agree with that. China, famously a nation that prioritizes abstract moral stands over self-serving bullying. So true. Now he supports Chinese naval intimidation. Holy fuck, dude.
To sign on because they're comfortable being an unsinkable aircraft carrier for the United States of America. So they, like, I'm not, I live in America, you live in Argentina, as far as I know. So obviously I'm not going to sit here and be like, Xi Jinping should do this, but that is my assessment. But clearly whatever they're doing has worked so far, at least in terms of like positioning China as a global hegemonic power. But yes, I do recognize that they're being self-interested to a degree where no one seems to care about doing anything to stop the Nazi Israel government from conducting its live-streamed child holocaust.
I mean, ultimately, it's just materialism in the end. China is extremely good at using the global system that the US set up, so why would they want to challenge it? That's how it is with everything. The Arab states, half of them are US puppets, the other half, they will probably get annihilated if they try to do anything uncoordinated without the US puppet states helping them. In many other cases, like, I feel like Israel has become something of an inconvenience for its allies at this point, but that's sort of too far in to really do anything about it. It's like, it's been like 50, 60, 70 years of nothing but full support for Israel. So at this point, what are they going to do, especially given that they would have to be, like, the US would have to be the one to really pull the plug, and that's not going to fucking do it, is it? So, I mean, it's probably like the bleakest situation that I could imagine right now. Obviously, like, Americans theoretically, as a block of people, like average Americans have a decent amount of power to challenge this, but they also themselves have no real reason, no real motivation for doing so.
Please, yeah, facts.
Ultimately, what you said about Vietnam probably rings true. It does not affect them that much. It affects some of them psychologically, and that is about it. They don't see any.
They're literally
material
worshippers
consequences
of
from
the
it.
third world. I don't even know
There has
why.
not been like a massive adverse reaction that could turn them against it. Like,
Who even fucking knows why? Who
for example, like the
cares?
IRA, for example, did a lot to like instill like fatigue in the British public on their government to try and look for some sort of solution to the troubles.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like it anywhere. Not at all.
He thinks
And
there's
it
no
is-
domestic
There's no
terrorist attack
situation
going. Holy
historically that
shit.
has existed.
Wait, guys, let's go back.
Where
He said there should be something like the IRA.
Americans theoretically, as a block of people, like average Americans, have a decent amount of power to challenge this, but they also themselves have no real reason, no real motivation for doing so, because ultimately, what you said about Vietnam probably rings true. It does not affect them that much. It affects some of them psychologically, and that is about it. They don't see any material consequences from it. There has not been like a massive adverse reaction that could turn them against it. Like, for example, like the IRA, for example, did a lot to like instill like fatigue in the British public on their government to try and look for some sort of solution to the troubles.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like it anywhere. Not at all.
Well,
And
there's no situation historically that has existed where the captive population has been this thoroughly, at least in contemporary history that I can think of, where the captive population has been this thoroughly ethnically cleansed in broad daylight without any sort of material support to.
Holy shit. Bad Empanada complained on his live stream with Hasan that there's no IRA-style terrorist group in America carrying out terrorist attacks to make the public fatigued by support for Israel. That's just fucking mental. He's literally advocating terrorist attacks.
To offer from other countries, right? Like, you have no Cuban example, you have no USSR example, and the role that they might have played in the ANC's efforts to resist against the apartheid structure in South Africa. And you certainly don't have American congresspersons doing arms trafficking to Hamas in the way that they did to the IRA. You had American conservative politicians of Irish background doing arms shipments to the IRA at a certain point. You could fundraise for the IRA in American bars, right? So very, very different set of statements.
He thinks you should be able to fundraise for Hamas.
To offer from other countries, right? Like, you have no Cuban example, you have no USSR example, and the role that they might have played in the ANC's efforts to resist against the apartheid structure in South Africa. And you certainly don't have American congresspersons doing arms trafficking to Hamas in the way that they did to the IRA. You had American conservative politicians of Irish background doing arms shipments to the IRA at a certain point. You could fundraise for the IRA in American bars, right? So very, very different set of circumstances here. And this coming also after the expanded surveillance state in the aftermath of the war on terror, with a shit ton of social conditioning that Americans totally signed off on, in terms of like Muslims and Arabs being worthy of only death and destruction. And they're all, rapist, barbaric hordes. They're all ISIS. This kind of attitude is reflected broadly in American society or in Western society in general. But that's the silver lining that I see, because in spite of all of that, I think there's only so much dead children that the average Americans can look at and go, this is completely unacceptable. Like, this is fucked up. Now, you're not wrong when you say there's not enough mobilization happening. People are not fucking shit up in an effort to make this costly, this undying allegiance to Israel costly. And you're not wrong on that. But I do think that given how much the public sentiment has shifted in such a short period of time, even though it was incredibly costly in terms of the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians at this point, even though the numbers say, 63,000? I think that's a severe undercount. There is still, I think that there is still always, like, it's something that I will always push for, regardless of how hopeless I feel. Is to mobilize Americans.
You can try your best. It is absolutely true that in an ideal world,
It was the conversation today. It was literally 2 hours ago.
To mobilize people in the US, Europe, Australia, Canada, these places which are Israel's primary backers. And many of us have mobilized. Many people have tried to do stuff, protested and stuff. But clearly, these governments are immune to this sort of pressure at this point. They don't give a shit about it. Like, it's because really almost nothing has really changed. Like, the Israelis are literally under investigation for genocide at the ICJ, for example. I would say at this point they are probably actually going to, like, it's going to be ruled against them. They're actually going to be found to have committed genocide in Gaza, and that is a huge fucking deal for a UN court, because they've done nothing to convince the court that they aren't doing that. Ever since the case started. But I mean, I might be wrong there, because it is still a UN court. It's still a court that is ultimately run by the US and all of this, even though pretend it isn't. But I mean, a lot of that is going to be, all these people on the court, like very prominent judges who would not want to sully their name by making an intentionally stupid decision just in the name of politics. So we'll see what happens there. But my point is, like, when you have basically like both of the most important judicial bodies in international law make like have serious cases against Israel. And you also have like hundreds of thousands of people in the street protesting in almost every single one of the countries that is supporting Israel. In some cases, like.
By the way, guys, we've got 30 people watching the stream. If you can leave a like, it'll help us reach more people. The algorithm. So please leave a like.
Week after week, it's clear that something has shifted here, and like from how things were 30 to 40 years ago, especially. Yeah. And the number one thing that I can think of is somehow the internet has made it easier to ignore this shit. I can't exactly articulate how exactly, but it's obviously the most prominent change in the world aside from the fall of the Soviet Union, which is probably bigger, you know. I forgot where I was going with it, actually. I'm a fucking moron.
Well,
yeah. What I was going to say was like, I don't know what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is, perception. I recognize all of that, and part of why I try to communicate these issues in the way that I do, even though I say almost the exact same things that you have said so far in this conversation, not signing off on everything that you say off stream or on social media.
I said the exact same things.
But we're having to put on a conversation right now. But
I'll yell at each other. I just take video clips over you, like you can find it.
Yeah, I'll move into that in a second. But the reason why, for example, why did I broach the subject of Israel with Bernie on First Amendment grounds and the unlawful detention and possible deportation of Mohammed Khalil? Because I understand Bernie Sanders' position. I don't agree with it, and I think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous position to have. It's repulsive to maintain the idea that Israel has a right to defend itself. 19 months into Israel's.
Have you seen the videos of how Bernie talks to pro-Palestine protesters?
Yeah, from like 2000 and there's like one from like there's one that's more recent where people come up to him while he's walking, but he's an old.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it that. I think it's the topic.
You know what I think it is?
That he knows I talk about.
You know what I think it is? I think it's what Bernie did to the average Democrat and the resentment that the average Democrat feels when Bernie is mentioned, because it shows their hollowed out nature of their politics. Pro-Palestinian protesters do to Bernie. I think he recognizes that deep down inside that those people are right and he's fucking wrong, and it pisses him off. Or maybe he just genuinely sees them. Yeah, or he just genuinely sees them as a hurdle, and he has the right to mind on this.
Judge say you are evil dude.
What I will say is this: when you go to those rallies where he has 32,000 people showing up,
it's just really an alpha dude, bro.
Blue states all around the country. The people at those rallies are far closer to the truth on the issue of Israel and Palestine than Bernie Sanders himself is, which is why I see that as an opportunity to talk to those people there. I see that as I see Bernie Sanders as simply a person that is capable of bringing all of these people together. And with the exception of American foreign policy, which is very significant for someone like myself, obviously, I see Bernie as a uniting figure that can be used to build a more robust movement to actually get more Americans that are liberal on board with
Bernie Sanders,
some of these other ideas. And I think imperialism plays a formative role in that politics, in the politics of the socialist left, of course, because I mean the argument, the alternative argument to the aristocracy, like Americans recognizing their class position, but also recognizing their class position on an international scale and how much they benefit from the unequal exchange globally. The alternative to that also is that every dollar spent on global war and the extraction of natural resources and all that endless bounty that doesn't even translate to America's material conditions improving could be a dollar spent directly on fixing the roads, fixing the potholes. A dollar spent on a bomb could be spent on educational material for children, better schools, a better ISP system, more robust welfare state. So this is like it's such an easy flip once you get Americans to that point, I think. And that's why I, regardless of my disagreements with Bernie Sanders, still hold some respect for him for being able to put this kind of politics in the forefront in a country like the United States of America, where I feel like before his 2016 run, positioning himself against like the establishment Democrats, it seemingly was a rudderless ship heading down to the
governor of the new British
like necro state that we have become, regardless of Bernie running. But at least now there's like more.
I think SMC did a better
organizing in the country, whether it be a more robust PSL movement, DSA, and even more unionization. Even though our labor union participation rate is pretty fucking low.
Okay, let me grant. Let's just I don't care to argue like a lot of stuff that you said, because honestly, I don't think it really matters. But
one point.
Okay, the left movement in the US is big now. Let's say that's the case. You have the PSL and all these other things. It looks really positive, bright for the future. Does it though? Has this changed anything? Has anything meaningfully happened as a result of this? If anything, things have probably gotten worse, I would say. So maybe me and your idea that the US is the place where something meaningful could happen is completely, utterly, and just totally wrong in reality.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a more pessimistic attitude, and there are definitely days where I feel that way. But I try not to succumb to that feeling and still push on, knowing full well that like, look, this movement is still marginal, it's still tiny, but it grows every single day, and that's ultimately a good thing, because who knows where we might be at. And at the end of the day, the least that the American left could do is like try to get concessions and to try to get America to step away to the best of our ability from the global stage when the decline of empire is setting in.
If you want to get concessions, the best thing to do is to immediately, each and every one of you, break with the Democratic Party already now and get to work. You've had decades to do it. It's probably too late, but why not try? Because what you're doing right now isn't doing anything anyway. So what's the difference? You want a great example?
I'm
not saying you're not. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be an argument. Everything doesn't have to be a yelling match.
Yeah, I think Bernie probably is the best possible option we had to do that too.
I mean, there was in 2016. I even thought,
Your thoughts on the Bronze Age class? I don't have any thoughts to share with you.
He might have been,
Just
he had been like,
manufacturing, create mass unemployment, but funding the US
he had the
military.
balls
Yeah,
back
that's
then
what
to
they
go
want,
out
dude.
and
It's
shit,
fucking
there was
ridiculous.
a coup in Bolivia, basic shit like that literally no one else in the US was saying. Stuff like that. And since then, he's just sort of become a shadow of himself. I mean, he's old as well.
Or even running as a major party candidate, running to
like the Democrats chose to lose rather than let him win. It's just a shame that after that, he didn't really do anything. Like, if anything, that experience turned him into more of an establishment guy than he was before. And that's just sad. But I mean, what I was going to say is that look at the Luigi Mangione thing recently. That is an issue that very directly affects many Americans. Many. That guy, I haven't seen polls on him, but I would assume that a majority of people who know who he is and what he did probably have a favorable opinion of him. But it still hasn't resulted in anything. Like, nothing has come of it at all. There was like a week period where like
Luigi Mangione burned in hell.
And talked about how cool Luigi was and like how the healthcare system is really fucked up. And then everyone just went right back to what they were doing before, and nothing has fundamentally changed. Nothing has really fundamentally been inspired by what was an act that I would have thought would inspire that sort of thing in a country where people, or at least at a time, maybe it's not even the US, maybe it's the time period that we live in, where people were ripe to actually take risks to try and seek meaningful change. This isn't happening anymore. And it's not just the US where this isn't happening. I mean, I live in Argentina, as you so astutely said. People in Argentina just sort of do the same thing now. They just let shit happen. It's a poor country where people in general have less to lose, and they just sort of let themselves be experimented on like a pack of lab rats. And there are people protesting against it. They are those people trying to do stuff, but most people are sort of happy to just sit back, relax, and see what's going to happen as someone tries to do that country. The same thing that's already been done to that country 50 times before and never worked in those times either.
I think part of that is also because of
Americans
are pacified by the bountiful treats that they have at their disposal.
So, hang on 1 second, Josh. I'll put you on.
Social media as well.
Hang on, sorry, Josh. I'm bringing you on.
Good.
Hang on. How do I put you on the screen? 1 second. Hang on. I'm just gonna. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's pretty good. Yeah. How you going, Josh? Let's watch this live and commentate. I mean, there's been some pretty sick stuff so far. Like, my God, like Hasan Piker literally says that he fully agrees with Bad Empanada on all this stuff. And Bad Empanada's official position is that every single Israeli should be killed. So, like, that's pretty sick. I don't know. It's sick. Let's watch it. Let's watch it, and we'll see what
they're just really, really cynical. Like, they're just very, very cynical young boys, right? And they speak with this level of authority.
So Bad Empanada is 35, George Ganitis, and then Hasan's 33.
I mean it in its most demeaning sense of the phrase, though.
Yeah,
they're just little boys.
Yeah, no, it's fucking sick, man. Like, they just were literally going on and on about how, like, at one point they explicitly endorsed the Houthi terrorist attacks on shipping and stuff like that. They were joking, oh yeah, let's make Drew Pavlu's son a Janissaries. Like, Janissaries being the Christian boys who were like kidnapped by the Ottoman Empire and forced to be slave fighters. And like, Bad Empanada just retweeted me on that and just said, yeah, I said it. Like, these guys are sick guys. They're sick guys.
Classy.
Yeah, classy. Let's put it on. Let's put it on and see.
That a majority of people who know who he is and what he did probably have a favorable opinion of him, but it still hasn't resulted in anything. Like, nothing.
I think at this point they're complaining that the Luigi Mangione assassination didn't result in more terrorist attacks and assassinations in America. Like, that's their current complaint.
At all. There was like a week.
Do you remember Josh? Do you remember Luigi Mangione, the guy who killed the healthcare CEO?
Yeah, there's that little angry little pindick rich boy who wanted to basically cosplay out what he saw on Dune.
Yeah, exactly. And they're literally just they're complaining at this point that it didn't result in more material actions, by which they mean more assassinations. They're really hardcore. Like, they're really radicalized. Followers? So they had 20,000 people watching live, and 20,000 people watching live, and Hasan, literally the biggest political Twitch streamer, and Bad Empanada still has hundreds of thousands himself, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like, they've got a big audience. And they're really radicalized. I think later I caught some of the end of it where he basically said, like, Hasan was saying, Bad Empanada was praising Hasan for saying Zionists should not even be allowed to be dog catchers, the local dog catcher. They should be completely purged from society, which is literally the rhetoric of like the East German communists who purged all the Jews of Poland, like, after World War II. That's literally the same rhetoric, like, purge all the Zionists. It's It's actually really sick. And they were just also saying, what was the other thing they were saying? Bad Empanada was basically saying there should be an IRA type terrorist group in America that carries out terrorist attacks to fatigue the American public into stopping their support for Israel. That's what Bad Empanada says. And Hasan's just like nodding along. And Hasan's like, yeah, dude, back in the day, you could fundraise for the IRA in American bars. You can't even do that for Hamas. It's so unfair.
But these people, they just get to say whatever they want. They don't have to be anywhere near the ramifications of their extremity, right? So it's the height of arrogance.
Absolutely.
It's the height
Very
of privilege,
arrogant,
really.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And by the way, Josh, I feel sorry for you. Because you've joined this stream, Bad Empanada is now going to go after you. Like he's gone after guys with like I've seen him go after guys with like 20 followers before. Like he's really feral. I am sure he will target you now.
Oh, it's okay. He's a little boy.
With like
He's
really insane anti-Semitic shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, look, let's
period where like conservatives and liberals met together in parks and talked about how cool Luigi was and like how the healthcare system is really fucked up. And then everyone just went right back to what they were doing before, and nothing has fundamentally changed. Nothing has really fundamentally been inspired by what was an act that I would have thought would inspire that sort of thing in a country where people, or at least at a time, maybe it's not even the US, maybe it's just the time period that we live in, where people were ripe to actually take risks to try and seek meaningful change. This isn't happening anymore. And it's not just the US where this isn't happening. I mean, I live in Argentina, as you so astutely said. People in Argentina just sort of do the same thing now. They just let shit happen. This is a poor country where people in general have less to lose, and they just sort of let themselves be experimented on like a pack of lab rats. And, there are people protesting against it. They are
good comment. Now that Chomsky can only make a thumbs up or a thumbs down, we have to rely on Hasan's incredible, piercing geopolitical analysis. It's very sad. We've lost the leading light of socialism in the world. Literally, the guy who fucking promoted Pol Pot and the Cambodian genocide as it was going on. They were saying they were anti-America. They're really
trying to do stuff, but most people are sort of happy to just sit back, relax, and see what's going to happen as someone tries to do that country, the same thing that has already been done to that country 50 times before and never worked in those times either.
I think part of that is also because of the treat economy. Like Americans are pacified by the bountiful treats that they have at their disposal. So
yeah, I mean, and part of those treats is the internet and social media as well.
They're not radical enough.
That too, for sure. That's also a treat. But what I was going to say is this, okay? I fear that if the only alternative is socialism or barbarism, right? I fear that without proper political education, without any class consciousness, without any mechanisms of pushback, without any sort of like structural organizing on the labor front, that when all of this crumbles inevitably, and I do think it will, all we will have is a fascist movement, and that's already kind of happening anyway. So that's my big fear, and that's what I try to. That's why I try to do everything in my power to talk to international leftist movements, regardless of how social democratically aligned they are, or even people like Mélenchon, in an effort to try to get people to organize.
You would know of Mélenchon, right?
Even if change doesn't seem immediate.
Yeah, some of the stuff he's done is like.
What is left wing about anything this guy's saying? Why does he keep referring to the left wing as though he's somehow like everything he's suggesting has anything to do with what it means to be left wing? He's just, it seems like they think that whatever the most radical sounding thing they can say is the most left wing and therefore like the most principled or something. It's very odd. It's very juvenile.
And dude, like with Mélenchon is someone who goes so far beyond just traditional left-wing anti-Semitism. He literally basically revived the deicide charge against Jews. He said the Jews killed Jesus Christ. And he's a socialist who doesn't even believe in Jesus, right? So it's just insane. Like, that's how bad Mélenchon is. And Hasan recently did an interview with him, and basically he's saying, like, he's one of the greatest Western political figures we have. By the way, Josh, I'm doing a debate tonight. It's mainly on like sort of housing and multiculturalism and migration, stuff like that. But it's going to be funny. I have Adu. Adu's like a big Palestine supporter. He's a big socialist. I don't know if you've seen his stuff before. He's going to join it, and I'm trying to see if he can get Purple Pingers on, because I want to debate Purple Pingers, but he will never do that, I think.
Do you have anyone in common with him, with Jordan?
I asked Leo Puglisi, because Leo is going to moderate. So we'll see. This is a good comment. You know how they're saying, the Americans, they're not radical enough. This is such a disaster. Like, it all just reinforces like the idea, like, revolution is not going to occur from the bottom up as a democratic thing. It has to come from the top down, from a fucking Leninist vanguard, like led by Hasan and Bad Empanada. So it's so elitist as well. The fucking mindset is so elitist. Yeah.
This is what I meant by the Luigi Mangione guy. It's the classic. I think it's Lisan Al Gaib in Dune, the leader from the outer world. It's always the guy from the outer world, the white savior will come in and help us. And he just said something really demeaning about the Argentinians as well. He's like, oh yeah, they just want to be used as lab rats. I guess sometimes they like do an action, but they don't know as well as me. Like, I went to a good university. I've studied the right things. I've spent a lot of time in my bedroom yelling at people. I think I understand what I'm on about here. It's very. This is the most elitist bullshit. I can't believe these guys. How long do they do this for? How long do they talk for?
Oh, they talk for I think 2 more hours, but I've got it on 1.75C, so it'll probably take an hour to go through. But dude, with Bad Empanada, this is an amazing thing. So he's living in Argentina as an Australian migrant, right? He's come from a developed Western rich country, goes to Argentina. He's living off his Patreon money. And I've looked up, like, his Patreon income before he went private recently was about like 4,000 Australian dollars a month. So that allows you to live like a king in Argentina. His class position in Argentina is crazy. He's lives like literally as probably top 5%, top 1% in Argentina. And then he's going around like, oh, the Argentinians are all poor. They don't know how to protest. They don't know how to be radical like me. It's actually so elitist. It's actually sick. Like, this is literally like a fucking gringo. He tries to get away with it because he's fucking Greek like me, right? He's actually a Greek guy from Melbourne, if you believe it. But he tries to get away with it like, oh, I'm Greek. But he's actually, at the end of the day, he's a fucking gringo who goes to a poor Latin American country and lives off fucking donations from Americans and Australians, lives like literally a first world lifestyle in a poor developing country. His class position here is fucked up. And he's going, oh, the Argentinians, they're just not, they're too poor to be radical. It's actually sick, man.
I mean, look, I know I try to step away from playing the man because, like, I don't know the guy. He might be a total piece of shit. He also might, be really nice to his dog and a great son, and
Oh, dude, I don't know if you. Have you ever had a run-in with him before?
No. But the truth is that like,
his official position is that every Israeli could be killed. That's what.
Yeah, but when I was 21, I thought that all of the Israelis should be driven out of Israel. Like, we all go through different, and like, so yeah, sure, but like, people, we all develop at different rates, and we all have, I just whatever. But like, I'd rather just speak to his ideas, and so far his ideas don't make a lot of sense to me. But I don't know anything about where he's from or any of that.
Well, basically his position is just that this is the exact same as the Holocaust, and Israel is a Nazi state, and everybody in Israel who's not currently like waging a sabotage terror campaign against the IDF is therefore complicit and therefore can be a valid military target. And he's literally said online that everybody in Israel is a valid military target. And he said that even in the context of like children who were like stuck with their families. There was one guy, there was a Haaretz writer, right? This guy was literally a Haaretz writer. He's a left-winger, anti-Netanyahu, anti-the war. He was trapped in one of the kibbutz on October 7 with his literal 3-year-old and 4-year-old, with his 2-year-old child and his 4-year-old child. And he didn't die, but Hamas were outside his house, and there were many hours where it looked like he was going to be killed. He was in his panic room. And we both know that they sent grenades into, like, the Hamas fighters threw grenades into the panic rooms, set houses on fire to try drive people out of these panic rooms. People burned alive with their families. And he said explicitly to this guy on Twitter, they literally had a Twitter exchange, and he said to him, I hope Hamas gets you next time. And he knows that this guy was with his kids, his 2-year-old and 3-year-old daughter or whatever. So, like, this is how radical and insane Bad Empanada is. Like, he literally has no problems whatsoever with killing Israeli kids.
Yeah, he just seems really
radical.
Ill.
Really radical.
It's just mental illness.
And you know what's insane as well? Hasan Piker, he's been screenshotted. Hasan Piker, like, it was, I don't know how long ago. It was 2 years ago, I think. 2 years ago, Hasan Piker was screenshotted on his Discord saying, I'll never work with Bad Empanada ever. He's too insane. He's too toxic. And then now, like, he's like, because Hasan's been radicalized as well, he's now working with Bad Empanada, and he's given him a huge boost here. Like, Bad Empanada is going to get a big boost to his following because he's streamed live with Hasan for 3 hours.
They just both look like intellectual lightweights from everything they've said. I haven't heard anything other than what I've already read in like the shittiest parts of Reddit.
You know what's so funny? Bad Empanada, he tried to sue me for defamation at one point, and I was very lucky because Tony Morris defended me, my boss. He wrote a letter back to him, just smashed him. But in Bad Empanada's letter, they were trying to be like, his lawyers wrote, he has a really impressive intellectual reputation. He won a Victorian poet. He won a Victorian history prize, and he was published in Overland magazine. And I'm like, dude, getting published in Overland magazine, it doesn't mean you're fucking like Sartre. right? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to be fucking snobbish, but
Overland have been hugely discredited. Overland have had the
dude,
worst
exactly.
18 months they could have ever had, and a large proportion of people. I used to read Overland. I've still got a bunch of copies of Overland upstairs.
Me too.
It's gone down
yeah, I used to have it.
Yeah, it's
It's gone insane since.
it's a nepotistic little shithole.
Yeah,
Overland.
dude, it's gone off. It's gone unhinged since October 7th. Many such cases.
Well, I think a lot of, I mean, I'm not specifically accusing you here or anything, but if there's one thing that you could do with your content that might maybe help you use the position that you're in for us to do something that might actually matter, it is really actually start encouraging people to work outside of the Democratic Party and lead by example as well. Like, if you're going to talk to Bernie Sanders again, scream at him in the face. Scream at him. Scream. Use that one opportunity.
Attack Bernie
how many more
Sanders.
times? How many more
He thinks
times?
Bernie Sanders is a Zionist, by the
He's
way.
very old. He is very old.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
He's
know.
a Jew.
I don't mean like literally scream at him, but I mean get combative. Put on a public spectacle.
Yeah, like, you know, he thinks Bernie Sanders is like a Zionist, and like Bad Empanada has called Bad Empanada has said Bernie Sanders is complicit in genocide because he won't call for the destruction of Israel, which is like so fucking insane. Because Bernie Sanders has been very critical of the Israeli government, has called for the war to end and everything, but simply because because Bernie Sanders still says that Israel overall has a right to defend itself, he thinks that he's genocidal.
Is there anything that these guys have said yet that you haven't heard before?
Not really, no.
Because this just all seems like recycled rhetoric and talking points gleaned from the top layer of the internet.
I think what's really what's pretty shocking here though is that Hasan Piker, literally the biggest political Twitch streamer in the world, and he was literally like New York Times had a glowing profile of Hasan Piker like literally as little as 2 weeks ago, saying he's like the liberal Joe Rogan. He's platforming this guy who's called for the mass murder of every single Israeli.
Yeah, okay.
And that's pretty incredible. Let me put back on the stream.
Spectacle of it.
I think that's
what give him a Kanye West.
Slow it down, Drew.
I think Ash
okay, I will.
had a really productive conversation.
Okay, I'll put it on 1.25.
I can't. Yeah,
I'll put it on
I want to at least pretend to.
Put on a public
Yeah, okay, fair. I'll put it on 1.25.
spectacle of it.
I think that's what
give him a Kanye West. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Why not?
I think Ash Sarkar had a really productive conversation with Bernie that people use all the time, where she presented some of these questions because she had a longer, like an opportunity to have a longer conversation with him.
It's so funny. Hasan won't agree with Bad Empanada that he should completely break with Bernie, because obviously that would be really bad for Hasan's brand if he actually fully broke with Bernie. So it's just going like, oh look, other people have like had productive conversations with him, bro.
If I'm not
have that with you.
Hang on, let me put it back.
Go way bigger than her.
Yeah, I think because he's had that conversation once already, he's probably a little bit more worried. Or I mean, I don't think he would run away from having that conversation with me either. It's just that I guess the planets haven't aligned. But yeah, no, I think that it's important to ask these questions. I don't think it's unproductive. That was never my.
I don't think it's that important to talk to him about Israel specifically, because obviously he's steadfast in that.
Well, I did bring up
the
the
most important
third party
thing to do would be the third party thing. And
no, I did ask him that.
Did you?
Yeah, that was the other. Those are my two main questions. Was like, what kind of initiatives does he want?
It's funny, we've got a Bad Empanada raid
for
right
Bernie
now.
and for AOC in general, but like especially for Bernie, were do you think that we could build a robust third party movement in this country, and like what are the steps to take to do so? And then the other question was obviously going to be about like what are the direct actions that they want to engage with in terms of tackling the issue of like how this administration is using Israel as a way to undermine the First Amendment, because that is precisely what's happening. Like I am trying to frame it I'm trying to frame these questions, or try to get people to ask these questions within the framework of American understanding, like recognizing the selfishness of the average American, recognizing American exceptionalism and American individualism. I think that those are areas that bear fruit. That's something that
I actually agree. Please keep spamming the chat, because it is actually going to be recommended by YouTube to more people. So please keep spamming the shit out of this chat, guys. Thank you.
It's a lot of resentment for average Americans, because like other than that, they're like, okay, Israel's killing a bunch of Muslims over there. Sure, it seems kind of fucked up, but the way to get Americans, the way to engage Americans on this issue, the best possible way to do that is by one, talking about tax dollars being spent there, because they're very selfish. And that's something that pisses them off. And two, talk about how this foreign nation has an incredible amount of power over American politics, and that the current administration is using defending Israel as a way to erode civil liberties that Americans enjoy. So That's what I'm trying to do.
I feel like if you appeal to people on the basis of their
It's
stuff,
so funny. They're like 41 viewers, bro. You're washed. Get a job. I'm actually happy with 41 viewers, dude. Like I started streaming last month. It's growing actually.
This is
then
fine.
You're going to have to keep engaging with them on
Yeah,
that
dude.
basis.
I'm quite happy. Like I literally started like last month. It's growing.
It's part of the grind.
Literally the grind, dude. Like I think I was starting with 15 live viewers or whatever. And it's now like 40. So it's literally building.
And,
no, that's just to broach the conversation, to open up the door to.
Okay, but you broach the conversation, right? So it's kind of like you're intentionally approaching it from a position that you yourself don't really believe is the right way to do it. And I think that makes things more difficult for you down the line as well. Or at least maybe not you specifically, like, this is how you engage as a broader movement, like as a intentional strategy among many different people in groups, engaging people in this way. Like, hey, Israel is bad because we spend a ton of money on it and we don't get enough back in return. Okay, then what happens if there is another instance of imperialism? Well, yeah, I know that's not what you mean, but that's sort of the message that you're saying to people when you're like, okay, we send these tax dollars to Israel. They could go to Medicare in the USA. We could have universal healthcare instead of that, or whatever. Okay, it's that sort of thing. Like you're appealing to the innate American selfishness that all of them are born with due to their innate Americanness. I agree with that part. So, like you engage with them on that level. And I feel like you're starting from a position that makes it a lot more difficult for you to get through to them from there and get them onto like a right path where they might actually do something meaningful. And this is ultimately why you should give up on Americans and leave.
Fucking insane.
I'm not going to do that until.
Who
knows what'll happen? Who knows what'll happen? If my former podcast co-host gets his wishes, I'll probably be in.
Like I don't know if you've seen this recently, but did you see how Hasan got stopped at the border for 15 minutes and was just asked questions like, "Hey, do you support Hamas?" and stuff like that. And he and because of that, he thinks that like Ethan Klein and like the Zionist conspiracy is trying to get him arrested, and Trump is trying to get him arrested. Blah blah blah.
But if you are contributing in any way to the Hamas cause, you should be arrested.
Yeah, dude, exactly. I mean, it's literally a terrorist group. It's a listed terrorist group, and like Hasan has been publicly supporting them for years now. And it's like, and all that happened to him, he got stopped for 10 minutes at customs, and they're like, "Oh, so what's the story? What's the story here?"
Fuck him.
Yeah, literally.
Fucking jail. I'll probably be under the jail expeditiously.
They're going to be looking for you in the satellite images of Cesar.
Yeah, he's held.
Did he just say expeditiously?
For sure.
Hang on, let's
do that. Until who knows what'll happen? Who knows what'll happen? If my former podcast co-host gets his wishes, I'll probably be in fucking jail. I'll probably be under the jail expeditiously.
They're going to be looking.
He's saying that Ethan Klein wants him to get killed. Okay, I'm gonna actually tell Ethan Klein about that. I think it's 50 minutes in. I'm literally just gonna message Ethan Klein on Discord. Tell
you
him.
In the satellite images of Cesar.
Yeah, he's hell bent on sending me to CCOT. For sure. But look, even the very fact that like the disgusting ways in which like many people here look at this issue from the framework of drama, like oh, grievances between content creators, like that shit destroys my soul. It's soul destroying.
He's literally
seeing that and seeing all these like right wing reactionaries joining on.
All Hasan does, all he ever does is just react to people. Yeah, and also good point how you said like. He basically says Ethan Klein wants to extrajudicially like kill him or something like that. It's actually
on as well after spending years and years of like saying anti-Semitic shit about Ethan and calling Gila Klein a horse. They've all now seemingly united.
She's a horse.
All of the okay. See, this is what I mean. I don't do that. Okay, this is the
Maybe you should be mean.
No, I don't. Well, first of all, I am mean, but not as mean as you are, and I don't think that's productive. Oh, you want to talk about disagreements? We're both communicators, and our goal is to, get people on board, right? That's your goal?
My goal is to make money.
Shut the fuck up. Why don't you become transphobic and become like a fucking right-winger?
I have a niche. I'm expected to. It's like, you have a nice bakery, you bake more bread. You don't branch out. Otherwise, you end up like Elon Musk with 5,000 different companies that all fucking blow.
Okay, but at a time when no one is fucking eating bread and everyone seemingly wants to eat donuts, if you already had the equipment, then you would make donuts. And I think you and I both know that there's a reason why you don't make donuts and you keep baking bread.
I don't know. I mean, I am honest about the things I say, and people for some reason want to see me say them. to some degree. So it's like, okay, I already got it. I don't need to branch out. I don't need to start screeching about it.
I think you and I both know where this line of questioning is heading, and that's why you're saying what you're saying.
Where is it heading?
I think, look.
I wasn't thinking that far ahead.
Okay, well, I think
we don't think that far ahead. I think
you're very smart, and I think you're very well read, and I really like a lot of the YouTube videos and the thought and effort that you put into.
You're really smart and well read. then 2 minutes later. Yeah, so like 2 minutes after Bad Empanada calls Hila Klein a horse and says that like Ethan Klein wants to kill Hasan, then Hasan's like, yeah, you're really smart, well read.
Do crafting your YouTube essays. I think they're incredibly well sourced. And
say thank you first.
But
no, there is not even a but. It's just that I think sometimes, as someone who's also in the same sphere as you, okay, I think you sometimes get in your own way by presenting yourself a certain way, especially considering that our worldview is something that people, especially in the Western world, are very hostile towards. I think sometimes you get in your own way a little bit with the way you act. You act like a left book guy in a world where
I have an example.
So many examples. I think you are you take a tone sometimes that is perhaps a little too mean for the uninitiated, that most likely shuts them off from actually seeing your commentary.
So I think a lot of those people are already not open to being initiated.
See, I think that's
too much faith.
I think that's defeatist.
Well, I don't think it's defeatist at all, because I think perhaps we can win without them. I think we do not need to appeal to like Burger American, Asmongold viewer number 8,002 million. Asmongold, by the way, I think his audience is way more indicative of the average American than yours, sadly. But
for sure. Yes.
Like
no.
I'm also not American. I'm not really trying to like appeal to a specific audience at all.
Meanwhile, his entire Patreon, it comes from American subscribers. He's living like a king in a third world country, basically, like a developing country, off their dime.
You know, I boot up my stream or whatever, I write a script or whatever, and it's just whatever I feel like talking about, really. And this has sort of generated an audience, and I talk about these things out of interest more so than specifically like trying to appeal to, like, say, Westerners and get them to my side or whatever. I think in a lot of cases, like, given the fact that I'm not actually that big of an internet personality, I'm very niche in reality. I think that exposing people to, like, even if it is by accident, like exposing people to, like, sort of uncompromising, just tell them what I really think about something, and like be a cunt about it sometimes, might be more effective than you give it credit for. Because ultimately, when everyone else is walking on eggshells, maybe having someone who can cut through or is more willing to, like, just be blunt about it is needed sometimes.
For sure. I don't even think that you and I are in disagreement on any of the major points that you've brought up. I guess maybe the only one would be like the framework of like I work with like liberal Zionists or something, which we can talk about, but let's shelf that for a brief moment. The thing I'm thinking of is like they say what I'm saying to you is so silly for me to say, because that's exactly what people say to me all the fucking time, right? But I don't think the people that say that to me
anything you've heard about me, throw it at me. I love it. It's fun for me.
Yeah, no,
specifics is good. I feel like, because I've talked to him about it before, and I'm like, I heard this thing, and then he's like, well, this is what happened, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I guess like some of
the worst thing that someone has told you about me.
No, I know like the fucking the pedophile stuff is like fake. I know all that shit. I know that's not real. Like
not a pedophile.
The tweets. The
that's an endangered species these days.
The fake. First of all, pedophiles are not an endangered species. Holy fuck! There was
I mean, someone who's not a pedophile. I mean.
Oh yeah. Okay. But this is also like somewhat of an unproductive conversation to have from my estimate, from the way I see it. Like,
we're here to fundraise. We're not here to have productive conversations.
No, I know, but I don't want to ever come across like I'm just like scolding you. Like, do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care.
Scold me as much as you want.
No, because I'm not scolding you. I just want to make that clear that because I think a lot of people get parasocial, even in your audience or in my audience as well, and that fucking annoys me to no end when people are like, Bad Empanada said this, or I'm sure my fans will come into your chat and be like,
I hate it as well, where it's like, I don't know, like I was streaming the other day and people were like, yo, Hasan's talking about you, and I'm like, who fucking goaded him into doing that?
Yeah, it's just it's annoying because like you're not someone that I consider to be an ideological enemy at all.
Holy shit,
why
dude.
I don't even think it's like productive to be like, you did this, you did that, because it comes across as scoldy and silly, and then people will use that against you or use that against me in the future as well. But I guess like it's shit. Like, I understand the point that you were making when you were doing the Alexa Flood game on Steam that you were playing. Like, I understand the broader point that you're making. This game was
dude. So just the context, right? Like, Bad Empanada played a game on stream where you're just straight up killing Israelis or whatever, and he said, "Oh, this is Hila Klein. This is Ethan Klein's wife. I'm gonna," and then just shot her in the game. And like Ethan, and then Hasan's like, "Oh, you know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, I understand why you're doing it."
something that my chat wanted me to play along at.
Dude, it's insane, eh?
This is
Yeah,
is it like
scold Bad That's so true. Hasan doesn't want to scold Bad Empanada for advocating to kill every Israeli.
But this is so. I mean, I was not joking before when I joined like half an hour ago, and in the chat I said, "Why don't we get an AI generated clip of them making out?" Because it was so obvious they were just here to suck each
I didn't
other's
realize that
dicks.
was you.
They were obviously just here to suck each other's dicks, and like it's been how long? And they're like already tongue deep in each other's assholes.
It's so funny because it's so funny because Hasan was saying like I'm never gonna work with Bad Empanada, never gonna, and he's obviously been quite radicalized. They were IDF characters, weren't they? Like, no, straight up, he was saying like kill Israelis.
How much more of this do we have to watch before we can decisively say that this is not worth watching?
Oh, I know. I mean, I think we're 10 minutes away. I think it's about 10 minutes away from when he starts denouncing me and stuff like that. Yeah, dude, it's fucking mental.
Is it because of all of those Palestinians you killed with your bare hands? Was it?
I don't know, that they call me genocidal or some shit.
It's definitely the
it's time ago.
Yeah, and all I've ever done is just say that like Hamas should not rule Gaza. Like that's the extent of my fucking commentary. Like the extent of my commentary is basically that Hamas is bad and Hamas should not rule Gaza. And like because of that, I'm genocidal or something.
It's pretty hard to argue.
Far before.
Yeah, I know.
October 7, because I think it was out, or a different version of that game was out in the past, where it's flipping the script on Call of Duty, right? Because like it's totally fine when you play Call of Duty. Nobody even thinks it's political. They think it's apolitical unless there's a woman operator. But when you flip the script and you give the guns in the hands of like Hamas operatives or Palestinian resistance,
nobody thinks
groups,
that.
All of a sudden it's considered to be completely unacceptable and very dangerous. But like doing the
what the fuck, right?
They just keep saying stuff that nobody thinks, saying that everybody thinks this to help make their point, as though they're somehow contrarian.
Yeah, it's so slow. It's so boring, right?
Doing the Al-Aqsa,
because you could literally just have this from a fucking ChatGPT
flood thing, while also like looking for Hila Klein by name specifically.
Drew the PLO would agree that Hamas shouldn't rule Gaza. Yeah, dude, on that I'm fucking in agreement with the PLO. But the extent of my position is like Israel should not be destroyed as a country, and like Hamas should not rule Gaza. That's like the extent of my Zionism, right?
Yeah,
it's like and just because like I've made fun of, I guess, like the most psycho pro-Palestine supporters who've literally verged into like Hamas territory, because of that, then they say Drew's the ultra mega Zionist, blah blah.
You have to understand.
No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. I never mentioned her name.
Secretary.
Let me explain what happened there. Okay.
Hang on. What did he say?
All of a sudden, it's considered to be completely unacceptable and very dangerous. But like doing the doing the Al-Aqsa flood thing, while also like looking for Hila Klein.
Oh no! So Bad Empanada then goes, "Oh, that didn't happen," but it's actually on video. Everyone's got a video of it.
By name specifically. You have to understand.
No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. I never mentioned her name.
It's just a lie.
Let me explain what happened there. Okay. So Ethan tried. He misconstrued a clip where I was in that game, and the AI in that game is extremely. It's either the AI is very good or it's very bad. And by that I mean I don't know if the designer intended for the opponents to be really stupid or not. So like my first experience in that game is like I walk up to two Israeli soldiers right next to them and they don't react. And I said, "Are these a bunch of Ethan Kleins on an Ozempic binge? Like, as in, are these fucking morons? Are they high on like drugs?" And Ethan Klein took that and he was saying, "This is me." He was saying, "This is me," and simulating killing me. That's the sort of thing that he was referring to in that.
I think you can understand how that could be misconstrued, considering that the entire thing that you're engaging in is already considered like.
I think it was hilarious. You're laughing, don't lie.
Well, no, I'm just saying that like when you do that, people are going to, so many people that would otherwise like listen to the bountiful information that you are presenting on your normal YouTube essays are going to be like, this is a scary guy, and I don't even know if I can entertain this at all. And
I feel like that's like a hypothetical guy, though. Like you're saying, so many people. I'm like, yeah, maybe some, but like how many?
I think, look, if
I agree with this comment, Hasan is literally a communist.
Someone is put off by me playing a video game where you kill IDF soldiers, and they think about like they see Ethan Klein saying some shit about me, like, oh, he tried to kill me in the video game or whatever, and they just take it at face value and write me off forever. But that's and they just write me off forever because of that. Like, honestly, I don't think I had any chance of reaching those people ever in the first place.
That's not true.
That person is not going to sit for a Bad Empanada video essay.
No, you're wrong. You're 100%
and they
wrong
will
about that.
immediately tap out.
Here we go.
You're 100% wrong about that.
I think it's just true. Like, there's a lot of people who I think, like the average Asmongold viewer, for example, that's millions of people. That's a way bigger audience than yours, sadly. Why are you flexing, Noah? Jesus.
I was stretching.
I don't have guns to show off. Like, it's not fair.
No, I don't. No, I've been doing push-ups for my stream, so it's okay.
The average Asmongold fan is either a fucking rabid neo-Nazi, as I found out earlier today, or the absolute dumbest person you've ever encountered. That's not what I'm talking about. And I'm not even saying like, oh, engage in like civility politics. I'm just saying that there's, I think, a broader audience that you absolutely could inform and potentially even radicalize if you were to soften your approach a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. But then again, that's why I always say, like, look, Bad Empanada and I don't.
Time recently, so
And also, I always say, Bad Empanada and I don't disagree.
Yeah, dude. Like Hasan had to hide his laugh. That's fucking true. That's literally true. So how long are we into this video? Is it? Hang on. It's
to get people to in general, but like especially for Bernie, where me think about that.
Where were we? Sorry.
We've found out.
In general, I just want to say this, like, on stream, don't be afraid of him, because I can think about, like, they see Ethan Klein saying some shit about me, like, oh, he tried to kill me in the video game, or whatever, and they just take it. His response sounds kind of funny, but that's what they just write me off forever because of that. Like, honestly, I don't think I had any chance of reaching those people ever in the first place. That's one person is not going to sit through a Bad Empanada video essay.
No, you're wrong. You're 100% wrong about that.
Immediately tap out.
Here we go.
You're 100% wrong about that.
I think it's just true. Like, there's a lot of people who I think, like, the average Asmongold viewer, for example, that's millions of people. That's way bigger audience than yours, sadly. Why are you flexing, Noah? Jesus.
I was stretching.
I don't have guns to show off. Like, it's not fair.
No, I don't. No, I've been doing push-ups for my stream, so.
The average Asmongold fan is either a fucking rabid neo-Nazi, as I found out earlier today, or the absolute dumbest person you've ever encountered. That's not what I'm talking about. And I'm not even saying, like, oh, engage in, like, civility politics. I'm just saying that there's, I think, a broader audience that you absolutely could inform and potentially even radicalize if you were to soften your approach a little bit more. That's all I'm.
His father is the leader of a popular party. Unfortunately, it's not his father. His father was a founding member, but his dad is a founding member of something, I think it's called the Future Party, and the Future Party's leader literally met with Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader, which is so funny. The algorithm radicalizes these men, children's entire sense of self has been sculpted by the need to placate for latent algorithm. Yes, literal facts. They've both been really radicalized by the algorithm.
I'm saying, but then again, that's why I always say, like, look, Bad Empanada and I don't. Time recently, so and also, I always say, Bad Empanada and I don't disagree on our ultimate goals. We just disagree on methods, and that's it. So I'm just telling you, like,
we don't disagree on.
I think in response to that one specific.
That's insane, dude. Right after that.
So have these guys, up until this point, like, has there been some animosity between them? So and now they're kind of deciding that they actually have a lot in common. And
yeah. So Bad Empanada, it was probably bait to get on a stream with Hasan. Bad Empanada started attacking Hasan like 2 weeks ago, saying like, "Oh, Hasan, you work with too many liberal Zionists and shit like that." And I think it was just like bait so that something like this would happen, where they could actually like be on the stream together. And then, yeah. Hang on, I'm just writing a tweet about this. Bad Empanada jokes about killing Ethan Klein in a video game, and Hasan struggles to stifle laughter. Then Hasan, right after, says, that his ultimate goal is the ethnic cleansing of all Israelis.
I just think it's really interesting the way that this kind of incessant chatter between radicalized instruments makes things more and more difficult for people. You know, those of us who actually want to have conversations with each other or learn something from each other. These types of voices make the whole kind of media atmosphere and information atmosphere so much more difficult to penetrate. Like, the same rhetoric is just said over and over and over and over again. And it's constantly, you know, people within these conversations need to like out-punch each other and outweigh each other, out-radicalize each other. So increasingly simple takes made more and more sharp and more radical. Like a race to the bottom, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Because they have to kind of outcompete each other to see who can be the most radical and blah, blah, blah. That's literally it.
But they don't know they're doing it. That's the really interesting part. Like, you can be an intelligent person and have very little insight, you know, and have very little understanding of what psychological forces are behind your need to continue to go lower and lower and lower. Like, why are these young boys so angry? Like, why are they so angry? Why do they hate certain people so much?
They hate it. They really want to see dead Jews. Like, they really are fucking radicalized. And I think with Hasan, like part of it is like sort of Muslim cultural supremacism, because he like literally was joking. Like what happened on the stream was Bad Empanada said, "Oh, blah blah blah," like we're gonna make Drew Pavlov's son a janissary, and we both know, like, you know, a janissary is basically like a Christian kid who was kidnapped by the Ottoman Empire, made into like a slave soldier. Like some of them they'd be circumcised, made into a slave soldier, blah blah blah, and forcibly converted to Islam, and like. Dude, like, and then Hasan was just laughing about it, going like, ha ha, yeah. Like, it's crazy. It's actually hardcore. Like, I think the fact that Hasan can laugh about those Ottoman atrocities shows that he's like, dude, he's fine with historical atrocities as long as Muslims commit them. I honestly think that's Hasan's like fucking attitude.
Yep.
Fuck, man, it's bad.
They don't care about anything. It's completely hollow. Yeah. These are hollow people. There's no integrity. There's no class. There's no spiritual center. It's just hollow chatter.
Fucking insane. Let me put it back on.
Point. I think when you water down your rhetoric in a way where you were kind of talking to people and advocating for things that you might not actually believe in yourself, just as a way of getting their foot in the door, you are sort of bringing people into wrong ideas, and the things that you yourself know are wrong as well, in hopes that maybe later on you'll be able to get through to them with something that is right, and maybe that isn't the right way.
They're saying, Drew, you're fine with current atrocities. That's a bad point. I'm not fine with any atrocity. I don't want anybody to be killed. Hang on one second. I'm just getting water for my brother.
Hello and welcome to the Drew Pavlou show. I can say whatever I want for however long Drew is gone. Everyone, you're actually right. Drew does want more atrocities.
I'm back. So true. Yes. So true. Drew's evil. Blah blah. Dude, fucking mental.
As someone who vaguely knows Drew,
I think you're.
I can safely say that he does want as many people dead as possible. Drew has been known to wake up in the middle of the night, watch his eyes roll back, and he yells, "Fuck the Uyghurs."
Oh yeah, so true. A lot of people have said Drew just loves terrorism and violence. So true. Fucking hell, man, it's so annoying. Like, dude, it's so annoying. I literally spent like 5 years of my life advocating for Uyghur Muslims who've been persecuted by the Chinese government, and then they want to say that I'm Islamophobic just because I don't like hardcore Islamism. Like, it's so fucking annoying.
I think you can scared of them? Make a much more coherent.
What'd you say?
I was making a bad joke. You mentioned being Islamophobic, and I asked you if you were scared of them.
Oh no, I'm not scared of them. I mean, I'm scared of terrorists. If that's Islamophobia.
No, well, actually, we make terrorists in all different shapes, sizes, and creeds. Don't worry.
So true. I've got a comment here saying you should debate Bad Empanada. Dude, I literally would have, but he crossed the line by literally posting my fucking address. He literally posted my address and tried to dox my family members. So I can't fucking debate somebody who does that. That's the line.
Like, I'm not even saying
will he ever come home from Argentina?
Like,
I hope so. I hope Ethan Klein sues him in Australia, because defamation law in Australia is universal. So if an Australian citizen posts something on the internet and it's downloaded by somebody in Australia, you've been defamed in Australia. It'd be perfect if he sues him in Australia.
And we also have some new anti-doxing laws that were introduced under the Albanese government. So doxing is illegal now.
I think he unfortunately did it before those doxing laws came into place. But
and they're not retrospective?
I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I'll see if I can fucking sue him, because I want to have some legal recourse against Bad Empanada, because what he's done over the past 2 years, the past year and a half to my family is really insane. He used his personal Facebook account to attack my family members. It was so insane. Like, he was saying Drew Pavlou doxed me to Ethan Klein, and meanwhile he literally used his Facebook account with his real name, George Gonadis, like just to comment on like the Facebook post on my family members and just attack them. It's insane.
Thank you. You're not broken.
The game isn't like actionable on YouTube. You're allowed to play this game. Totally.
No, I understand.
What happened is Ethan literally sent an email to his own personal YouTube rep and got the video taken down. That's what happened.
Yeah, he definitely is not the biggest free speech defender, as we've found out.
In general, though, I just want to say this like on stream. Don't be afraid of him, because I can tell you he has been doing that with every single one of my videos. Every single.
I'm not afraid of him at all.
Not you. Just in general, to anyone watching who might make content about Ethan or this. Ethan complains about your videos to his YouTube rep every time. And the only time it's ever worked was that one video, and it just got taken down. I didn't.
Why do you think that video worked?
Because like he made the argument that I was simulating violence against him. that was why.
And that's my
like,
point.
That was the one case where his YouTube rep was like, okay, we'll give you this one, man.
Like, I think you'd be a beneficial voice to have on Twitch or even on other platforms.
Oh, yeah,
but
they're
there's a
not
reason why you can't get unbanned on Twitch, even though
that's so unfortunate. Australia's new anti-doxing laws are not retrospective. That's so unfortunate. Yeah,
Just
that's
get him
sad.
to do it again.
I think your attachment to Twitch is erroneous. You should be on YouTube primarily. It's way bigger.
Yeah, but that's a different subject. I mean, I
also better for free speech. You can say Zionist here.
I know. Well, shouts out to the ADL for that one.
Okay, well, can I just pause here what you were saying to make that?
But to be fair, like they did withstand a fuck ton of pressure, and I wasn't banned. If we're being real,
YouTube can't be pressured like that. That's the difference. YouTube is not vulnerable to that sort of pressure because YouTube is a way more international platform than Twitch is. Way more. It's like they have actual business operations in most countries in the world. They have their financial departments are more independent in different continents and stuff. So they ask, if the ADL runs a campaign against you for YouTube to do something to you, YouTube will just ignore it. Twitch really can't. Twitch is in a position where they have to.
No, I know. And then they run it up the chain of command too. I know that they pressure Amazon directly. Yeah. It's really gross. Like the shit that like Ethan and the sex pest community that he is like aligned with have done in terms of like mass brigading and email campaigns and like literally running it up the executive branch all the way to Amazon is completely and utterly psychotic.
To the point where border agents now asking you even Klein talking points.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. That's a byproduct of living in the United States of America. And I am aware of this issue, and I'm YouTube salivates at the prospect of me going there to live stream there. Trust me, I know. So
have they contacted you? Or you really don't want to talk about it if they did?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. I talk to you. Do I have a YouTube rep?
Do it.
I have a YouTube rep
on YouTube. You'll be way more effective streaming on YouTube. Come on.
I mean, I think the community element of Twitch is
views on YouTube instead of just like 50,000 on.
They take videos views from us though. Me and you. Hasan came over.
Okay,
that's true.
Maybe that's true. Yeah. Okay. Don't come to YouTube.
No.
Yeah.
Fuck off to Twitch.
Yeah. You gotta think about that. But where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, just like, we have disagreements here and there. I ultimately don't care what you do. I understand it. I have also a lot of people whose commentary I enjoy that say a lot more insane shit than you do. Even
that's the thing. Like I have this image where I'm like once an international criminal, and to be honest, I find it really funny. So I kind of
no, it's because you have a old left book ass attitude. You're like Mr. Troop Exploder. You know what I mean?
What is
left
like
Troop Exploder?
I've only ever heard the term used.
Old communists on Facebook and Facebook groups would just like post the type of shit that you post.
Well, I mean, do you think that U.S. troops should be a protected class who, like, that's actually an interesting thing about YouTube rules is you're allowed to call for deaths of soldiers.
Yeah, you can't do that in Twitch either. Twitch, that's part of the reason why I got banned initially with the 9/11 stuff. It wasn't because I said America deserved 9/11. It's because I shit on Dan Crenshaw, who's a veteran and therefore was a member of a protected class.
Oh,
isn't that crazy? A fucking American congressperson who was advocating to, at the time, continue giving weapons to Saudi Arabia, which that's the other side of this conversation that's so funny. Because that was me yelling at Dan Crenshaw because he was telling Joe Rogan, like, we got to keep giving weapons to fucking Saudi Arabia, actually, because these terrorists, they hate us because they hate us. And I was like, bro, these are the guys that did fucking 9/11, and you're advocating to give them weapons that end up in the hands of Al-Qaeda in Yemen, fighting against the fucking Ansar the Houthis. So it was a mind-boggling situation.
So was that the America did 9/11 context? Was that the America deserved 9/11 context?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the
context.
context.
Sense now. Like you were saying they caused it because they gave the Saudis the weapons, basically.
No, it was just basic blowback. Like that's what I was saying.
Basic
Not that,
blowback.
Americans deserve.
Wait, hold on a minute. Can we just?
Did you hear that?
Hold on. Yeah. But that's just a buzzword that people learned 12 years ago after a 9/11 documentary first went on TV and went, oh, that's convenient.
Yeah, when they watched
like fair enough.
9/11.
I think I do think like I don't want to get into that. That's not what I was pulling this up for. I actually do to some extent agree with, an element of blowback. Of course, like there's cause and effect everywhere.
There's a common argument that a lot of people make on the left that like Osama bin Laden was trained by the CIA because obviously like the CIA were giving support to the Taliban, like they were giving support to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. But Osama bin Laden was never supported ever by the CIA. Like if you go back, there are people who've done full books on this, full historical research. Like he got a lot of money from the Saudis. Like Osama bin Laden was funded when Osama bin Laden was fighting in Afghanistan in like the 80s and shit against the Soviet Union. He was funded by the Saudis. He wasn't funded by America. And so like the whole concept of blowback when it comes to Osama bin Laden in particular, it's like this common myth that he was trained directly by the CIA. And like I've never found any evidence of that. And I've read many books on this subject. But yeah, sorry, what were you saying about it?
Well, I mean, just firstly, like on that, I think that it's important because of the current conversations around how different states fund the Israeli war machine, right? As it's so often put.
The war machine,
people will be like, we can't do any type of trade at all with Israel BDS movement because like there's some, like part of a door handle to an aeroplane that is made blah, 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 blah. And it's so interesting to me that like, and these people are talking about, the extent to which America is responsible for what, Bin Laden did because of the fact that they might have at some point been part of this chain of causation. And what baffles me, what fucking baffles me, is that these people don't seem to understand. I'm not saying support, but they don't seem to understand how capitalism works, right? How comparative advantage works, right? How specialization works, right? How like tiny parts from all these different parts of the world come together, are manufactured in one place and then sold through an intricate network everywhere else. Like, so this idea that like we are supporting Israel because we have this like tiny little...
There's like a door handle.
Yeah.
Like a door
handle. It's insane. Like it's fucking insane. It's the same. It's the same arguments with like how America somehow like supported or facilitated what Bin Laden did. Like Bin Laden went and did something horrible because he fucking sucks, right? The guy's
because he hated America, and also he hated America so profoundly. Like
he could have had. Imagine having an entire artillery of weapons and planes and people, but not hating America.
Yeah.
Does the attack happen? Right? It doesn't happen. The fucking Novus Actus Interveniens here. The breaking the chain of causation is the fact that the guy wanted to kill Americans.
Yeah, he wanted to kill Americans. And if you read his stuff, he literally says like, my goal is to like destroy America because it's controlled by the Jews. Like it's like literally insane anti-Semitic like. That's literally what it is.
No, it's just blowback. Just like
blowback,
October 7. Just like October 7. It's just blowback, right?
Do you remember when it went viral on TikTok? Do you remember when it went viral on TikTok where there were these fucking idiots, like young 20-year-old socialists going like, oh my God, I read like the letter to America by Bin Laden for the first time. And holy shit, dude, he said that he's actually doing it because of Israel. And if you actually go to the letter, like he literally just says like, yeah, America's controlled by the Jews. That's why everybody's gay in America. That's why we want to kill Americans. Like that's the extent of his argument. It's like, it's not an anti-colonial argument. It's literally that he thinks America's controlled by the Jews. And like, therefore it's a decadent gay society and must be destroyed. And all these like leftists fell for it. It's just so fucking embarrassing.
Since when did the Saudis, since when did any powerful group of people have actually like a moral problem with the act of conquest? Or colonialism in any form.
Well, they seem to enjoy colonialism when it's every other country. Like, I mean, all these people,
I've only ever heard white people make this about colonialism. Anyone who has any actual understanding of any of these parts of the world just sees them as forever ongoing parts of the world that are being colonialized by different groups of people.
Wait, sorry. Can you clarify that a bit? Sorry, I missed you a little bit when you said that.
Well, I just don't think that everyone wants to make this about colonialism who is already like deeply ashamed or has some guilt complex.
Oh yeah, it's like white guilt.
Colonialism. Yeah, but like, I'm sorry, I don't think that the Arabs have a moral problem with colonialism, because they don't have an internalized and inherited guilt or shame complex around.
No one talks about it like that. Yeah, you're right.
So
you're right that in like Arab culture, there's none of that.
No, it's got nothing to do with that at all, right? So I mean, without going, I don't want to spend like half an hour on the Nakba, but like that was a failed act of retaking the land. Yeah, right. They wanted to retake the land
because the UN.
They're ashamed of the failed colonial enterprise.
Yeah, because look, if you look at it, the UN put in place the UN offered the two-state partition, right? And then they rejected and said, we're going to take the entirety of the land, and they said we're going to push the Jews into the sea. And it was like it was genocidal what they wanted to do. If they had won, it would have been ethnic cleansing of Jews.
Yeah, and Jordan wasn't enough.
It's fucked, man. Because like, look, if they had won in 1947, they would have 100% ethnically cleansed the Jews who were living there, and they would have massacred Holocaust survivors.
And it was their loss.
Yeah.
But it was their
And we're
loss
supposed
that
to
then
ignore that part.
compelled. There were more Jews displaced during the Nakba than Arab Palestinians, right? Because these Jews were then pushed out of everywhere else in the Middle East that they lived and sent
you're
directly
talking
to
about
Israel.
You're talking about the entirety of the Arab expulsions. I mean, I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah,
Like, you know what's funny? Hassan talking about that. I've listened to Hassan's point, and he goes, "Oh, not all of them were expelled. Like, at least some of them were like actually, forced to migrate by Israel, doing false flag attacks in Iraq and shit like that."
Okay.
Have you ever seen these guys say that before? Like, they try and say that that Israel created these false flag attacks across the Middle East to induce the Jews of the Middle East into flight towards Israel.
Yeah. Hey, look at this comment by Ron. This is really interesting. If you support Western values, the ancient Greeks and Herodotus, along with Romans, called it Palestine. I think it was 120 something AD that they renamed it to Syria Palestina.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Of course, there were references to the Philistines, which were actually Greek sailors who had ended up down there. But the truth is that the use of the word Palestine was very much deliberately part of the ethnic cleansing of the Jews, right?
Yeah, because they literally ethnically cleansed the Jews at that time.
They took the name and they replaced it with something else. They took who ran the show and they replaced it with someone else. The Romans replaced everything. So actually, you've got it. It's really interesting the way that this Ron person's put this, but it's also really interesting because it demonstrates a very Western-centric appreciation of history, where history seemed to start with Jesus, right? Very bizarre.
Ron's now going to follow up. Ron's now
only called Judea. Right, so it was called Judea
only
400 years before Palestine. And how many hundred years in a row was it called Palestine, and which area was called Palestine? There is no area that has been called Palestine for longer than 400 years ever.
So his previous comment was saying the Romans called it Palestine. It was never called Israel, and they're racing Western blah blah blah. And then literally right after he goes, wait, where's the other comment?
That's bizarre, isn't it?
It was only called Judea. I think this Ron guy's like a far right guy. I think that's his position here.
Oh, so this is a guy who just doesn't like Jews. Isn't it amazing the horseshoe theory that we live in today?
Yeah, because some of these far right guys actually
agree.
Yeah, some of these like the far left guys and Islamists are happy to work with the far right when it comes to Israel and Jews.
Yeah.
A person. Thank you, a person.
Very bizarre.
Think did 9/11.
What?
Who do you think did 9/11?
A little bit here, a little bit there.
I think it's extremely disrespectful to imply that to imply that Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden didn't do 9/11. I feel like it's taking a lot of credit away from them in their operation.
Well, no, I think that. Well, I think it's a joint partnership. I don't think you get to.
Dude, that's sick. He's joking about 9/11 again on the stream. So
get to fucking work inside. I don't think you get to literally be a known CIA operative and also get to learn how to fucking fly a plane and tell your flight instructor you don't need to learn how to fucking land the plane. And then also then end up doing 9/11 without a little bit of government oversight or lack thereof, I guess.
We've got a comment from a National Socialist member guy here. Sort of says the Jews are happy to work with communists when it comes to white nationalism. Like, dude, it's just mentally ill.
Absolutely, we are. Thank you very much. I know which one of them definitely wants me dead.
Look, I hate communists and Nazis at the same time.
Equally?
Yeah, equally, I'd say. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, World War II, I would have. World War II, I would have. Obviously, yeah, as things have transpired, I would have worked with the Allies to destroy Nazi Germany in World War II. But I think I've said this before, and it was really controversial. I said once Nazi Germany was defeated, I would have kept on going. I would have gone Operation Unthinkable, Winston Churchill, and literally defeated the Soviet Union. And people say that I'm insane for that.
Yeah,
but I would have as soon as Berlin was liberated, I would have pushed the Western. I mean, I know we can't materially. I know materially it wouldn't have been possible. But I would have just kept on pushing, and I would have like literally overthrown the Soviets.
But isn't it a bit of a false? Sorry.
Someone's asked who's your guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Joshua David Dabblestein. I am an Australian writer.
Yes.
Do you think we don't want you dead? We just want you out of it.
Okay.
Which countries?
And Swindon replies, "Why should I support Jews then?"
No. This is a really interesting question though, and I don't mind talking to like anyone ever, right? I'm never gonna be like, fuck you, you're a particular type of person. Like, let's do it. Okay, I'll roll the cuffs up. So this question is, we want you out of our countries. Would you mind, you're able to flag that one?
Oh, hang on, I'll find that one. And by the way, to the people saying, oh, Drew, like, how could you be so hesitant to ally with the Soviets? Like, the Soviets started the war on the side of Nazi Germany. So my preference would have been for destroying both of them. I've got no love for the communists, but I do think Nazi Germany was the absolute prime evil in World War II, of course.
Yeah.
This is the comment, mate. We don't want you dead just out of our countries. Fucking hell.
Yeah, we don't want you dead just out of a country. So, like, Jack, I'm addressing you, and I'm addressing you in good faith. Ron, people. Oh, okay. Let's go back to Jack.
Oh, sorry. I'll go back to. Sorry, yeah. Jack.
So Jack,
or whatever.
Ron would accept 30 pieces of silver. See, I am a Jew who there. I don't find anti-Semitism funny, but like I find rudeness really funny. I think. So, like, you know what I mean? Just bad taste humor, black humor. So yeah, just out of our country. So Jack, this is a question for you. If you wouldn't mind typing your response. Which countries do you want us out of? By our, I assume all of them. Which countries?
I mean, he's calling for ethnic cleansing Jews.
Yeah, but so where should we go? He says he doesn't want us dead, and the whole world is covered in countries. The whole world is covered in countries, right? So where does?
Yeah.
So Jack, if you wouldn't mind just explaining to us before we continue. You don't want us in countries, but you don't want us dead. Is there anywhere in the world might rhyme with Bizrael that we might belong? You want? Yay!
Okay, so he's like,
Jack's
so this
a
guy,
Zionist. Woo!
so this Nazi guy is a Zionist, and he says, oh fuck, and he goes, or Madagascar. So this guy's obviously like a Hitlerite.
Madagascar's beautiful this time of year. Thank you.
Oh
Thank you very much. Okay.
You obviously, Josh, you know about the Madagascar plan, which was like the original Nazi plan, of course. Yeah.
Well, there was also a Tasmania plan. They had a few of them. There was one other comment here which I thought was really interesting. Jews literally say Jesus is in a vat of shit burning in the Talmud.
Oh, that's just cool. That's, you know, a lot of those fake Talmud things literally were invented by the Nazis.
I know. I've got a book in the car. It's a
lot of them are just literally invented.
The book is called The Talmud Unmasked, and it's Nazi rewritings of Talmudic offerings.
Yeah, they did that shit.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I gotta say, Josh, because the Nazis are gonna clip you and say, like, oh, see, the Jews want to work with the communists. Like, dude, the communists also hate the Jews at the same time. Like, let's not forget, like, let's not forget, for example, like, you know, Stalin's doctor plot and how, like, the Soviet Union was like fully institutionally anti-Semitic, hated Jews so profoundly and everything.
Oh, Poland was still expelling Jews in 1968. Yeah,
literally.
But
literally,
but all I was saying is that if I had to pick between a Nazi and a communist is a particular type of far-right person that is really bad. A communist is a broader spectrum of far-left person, of which some commies are fucking Stalinists, who I don't want to fuck with, and some commies are not Stalinists, who might be a little less...
You're thinking of like anarcho-communists and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that if we were to, you know, it's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. If you want to equate Nazis to commies, I think you'd be best to be more specific around your commies.
Well, my thing is, if it's a choice between like Hitlerists and Stalinists, like I hate both of them. Obviously, I fucking hate Stalinists so much. Obviously, just as much I hate Hitlerists as well. What else do we have here? A communist just believes we should nationalize resources and eliminate rent and wage slavery. Oh, that's so true, bro. Like, that's just what communism is. Let's just forget the fact that, like, they killed 100 million people at the same time.
That's nice to have Ron around, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny. We've got some weird commenters here. Bro,
what was that last one with the word cowardly? I missed the word cow. I saw cowardly.
When's that? Oh, he's saying that I should debate bad Empanada, otherwise I'm a coward. Nike Man says, bro, a ton of...
Oh, Marco's the guy who came in and corrected us and was incorrect with his correction, so...
Yeah, that's funny. Nike Man said, bro, a ton of the top communists were Jews. Also, there were many Jews integrated in Soviet society. Dude, like by the 50s, like under Stalin, they were purging Jewish doctors across the entire country. Like they were institutionally anti-Semitic. They were like really, and also if you look at like Holocaust memory in the Soviet Union, like they literally suppressed memory of the Holocaust because they didn't want World War II to be seen as, you know, specifically harming Jewish people. So like if you look at like the Soviet history, the way they treated Jews was just like so insanely brutal.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, there's a good there is a good point here. Like, to be fair, socialism existed before Marx. I mean, yeah, true. Christians probably were the first ones to invent socialism, I think. Which is like, that in itself is probably like a crazy take, but you should debate bad Empanada. That would be entertaining. Yeah, but dude, he literally doxed my family home address, so I don't think I can do that. Oh my God, dude. Do you not see any benefits to National Socialism, Drew, genuinely? What about if it was in Cyprus? Dude, I don't support like a Cypriot ethno-state either. I'm not a fucking Nazi. I fucking hate the Nazis, dude. It's funny. It's fucking hell. This fucking nuts.
Do they ever? Do the National Socialists? Do the Nazis ever?
They really.
Do they ever talk about a version of Nazism that doesn't involve gassing like 6 million people, or is there a version of National Socialism that doesn't involve like killing millions of people?
It's funny because the Nazis have hated me for a long time because I've gone very hard against them. But then recently, as I started saying that we should lower migration, some of them have like become less like they used to all go like deport Drew, and then now there's some of them are like, okay, Drew's all right potentially as like a dhimmi in like our white nationalist state, just because I said like we should lower migration on housing price because of like the impact on housing and stuff like that. But whatever, it's just fucking strange. These people are very strange. That was a genuine query on the ideology of National Socialism, dude. Like, Nazism to its core is an evil ideology because it believes in race war and race extermination. Like, Jack, if you're asking me about like, you know, Franco's Spain, or for example, even like Mussolini or whatever, like that is a different form of fascism to National Socialism. Like, National Socialism is like even another step where they literally like it's race extermination to the core, and that's very different to fucking. I mean, Mussolini was obviously a participant in the Holocaust. He carried out horrible genocide against Ethiopians and stuff like that. But the Nazis took like race war and exterminationist policy to the like literal the most maximum possible extent. So of course it's just disgusting, dude.
These comments are wild.
It's crazy, dude. We've got bad Empanada supporters here and Nazis.
Wait, no, who is? Just so I understand what the fucking general metal of these people is.
This guy's saying Albo's progressive patriotism is National Socialism. That's not National Socialism, dude.
Yeah, okay. No, I like Ron. Ron, you hang around. You're a character.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So who here is a bad? If you wouldn't mind just posting the letter Q in the chat. Who here is a bad Empanada supporter?
There's a comment by Pickles LeBlanc, and you know it actually is interesting. I've been reading about the history of Mussolini's Italy. And like there were literally Jews who participated in the March on Rome with the fascists. So it was really it really became institutionally like psychotically anti-Semitic under the influence of Hitler. There was always anti-Semitism in the Italian fascism, but I think it was really like the influence of like the Nazis and Hitler that made it like fully genocidal against Jews. I mean, Mussolini infamously had a Jewish mistress, Maria Safati, I think her name was. It's really weird, all this stuff. Yeah, so we got. I'm a Drew fan. That's why I want him to debate bad Empanada and own him. Nazi ideology wishes to eliminate. Yeah, dude. Look, Nazi ideology wants to eliminate all non-whites. I think that's ultimately what Nazi ideology wants. Wait, National Socialism is basically an ethnic group having a nation which looks after them and exists for their benefit, free from communism and globalist capitalism. You are adding on racism. Like, but dude, if you're just saying like you want a conservative ethno-state, why are you saying a national? Why are you then branding it with National Socialism? Because everybody hears National Socialism and immediately thinks mass extermination of other races.
It's like pretty poor branding.
This is a really good quote. You know, Mussolini actually said this. It is a feeling, not a reality. 95% at least is a feeling. Nothing will ever make me believe that biologically pure races can be shown to exist today. So it's interesting. Like, they're obviously like the fascists were extremely nationalistic and racist, and they were fully racist against Africans. Mussolini carried out genocide against Ethiopians and stuff. But when it came to like say the internal hierarchy of like European races, like they didn't have like it wasn't really until like the Nazis really got into it that developed in Italian fascism. Because obviously, like, you know, even the Nazis were saying like the Slavs, like the Nazis were saying Polish people who are white are Untermensch. Like they were saying the Poles were inferior race, even if they were white, right? That wasn't necessarily a thing within Italian fascism until I think the influence of like Nazism. What else are we? Nazism resulted in millions of Germans dead and displaced, let alone the atrocities they committed ever get. Yeah, dude, that's the thing, right? Like, literally, this is why I don't understand why anybody would actually be a National Socialist, right? It's even if you were just like a German, dude, it literally resulted in the biggest destruction of Germany in history. Like, it's literally just a cancer. Like, the entire ideology was just basically race war until we either win or we lose. Like, he just wanted an endless permanent war. What's this guy saying? A biologically pure race doesn't make sense genetically. You can pure breed through Mendel, though. Ethnic groups are distinct in form. Like, obviously ethnic groups exist, but I don't think we've got some insane people in this chat, dude.
Yeah. I am just reading all of them, and
I'm trying to keep up with all of them. There's heaps of stuff in the chat right now. We've got like literal fascists in the chat. There's one guy saying like you should be able to accept fascism as long as it doesn't result in like mass extermination. But like, dude, like it resulted in mass extermination everywhere it was literally implemented. These guys are literally doing the communist thing where it's like real communism has never been tried. They're saying like real fascism has never been tried or whatever. What the fuck, dude? My stance is literally what Yusuf said. Nazism, Stalinism, and Maoism are the worst ideologies in history. Literally.
What about Zionism?
Oh, so true, so true.
Have you
saying that Hitler's super peace? That's like literally just a lie.
I'm just going on your.
So you're saying the reason that there are fascists in the chat is because Drew is a fascist? How am I fucking fascist, dude? I'm literally a liberal centrist. We've got. The Führer principle. It makes no one safe under the Nazi regime. Yeah, literally. There's so many fucking weird ones.
So many what? What
this
did you
guy
call
saying
them?
this guy.
We ones.
I said there's so many fucking weird people in this chat. Jack Croydon, look at this chat. He says this guy says I'm a fascist and Drew is not one. Fucking hell, dude.
No, I'm a centrist and you're a left. Swindon, I've seen you around, Swindon.
So the Swindon account is like, I saw his Twitter. He like promotes like Thomas Sowell and National Socialist Network and shit.
Okay, he's a centrist.
So he's nuts. Yeah.
All right. Is this horseshoe theory in action? Philip Raffle, welcome.
Who's
You're
Philip
a little
Raffle?
bit late. I don't know, but it's a real name, isn't it? Philip Raffle.
Oh, so yeah. Anybody who says Drew's dad wants him to get a job, anyone who says that is like literally just like a bad Empanada shill. So
I had
we
a
are all
long
factors in
chat with
Drew.
your father earlier, and your father told me he was very proud of you.
So true.
I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna leave you with these.
Yeah. I'll respond to chat for a minute or so while.
I'm going to leave you with my dog. He'll sit behind me.
Yeah, no. Ron says, when Mussolini invaded Addis Ababa, he said that Adwa had been avenged. Mussolini had a fat chip on his soldier, losing a war against black people. Yeah, true. And it was genocidal. Like when they won the war in Ethiopia, they had a really atrocious massacre of like native Ethiopian people, which is really... Corey says, is there any good forms of... No, of course. Fascism's fucking psycho ideology, and everywhere it's ever been implemented has resulted in mass death and destruction. Drew, would you rather live under communism or fascism? Literally blow my brains out in that scenario. Literally blow my brains out. I couldn't live under either. I'm too outspoken. I'd literally blow my brains out. I couldn't live under either ideology. Don't forget the contempt for weakness of fascism. It's bad to the core. Yeah, dude, they're addicted to trying to enslave people. It's a horrible, horrible ideology. Their ideologies attract angry radicals to build their movement, so that we'll just do it more sophisticated this time is unconvincing. Yeah, literally. Drew, your dad says you should be generous to your fans and to give us $5 each. So true. Please just play the stream for like 2 minutes. I'm going to put the stream back on. Drew, live stream question time, maybe tomorrow, maybe. Greetings from Texas. Nice. We've got some normal liberals in the chat. That's good. Okay, real hypothetical. Would you rather live under National Socialism in Cyprus as a Cypriot with a Cypriot government, or under communism in Cyprus with a Cypriot government? Dude, but I don't like... I'm ethnically Cypriot, but I fully identify as Australian, right? Like, if I had to live in Cyprus right now, I'd be living there as a foreigner because I don't speak Greek and I'm not fully enmeshed in the Cypriot culture. So honestly, dude, I want to live under Australia. I'm Australian. I see myself fully Australian. Obviously, my ethnicity is Greek Cypriot, but I see myself fully as an Australian. I want to live in Australia. Like, I don't want to live in Cyprus. Like if I could live in Cyprus if I wanted to, but I don't want to live there. I'd love to go there on holiday. I'd love to go back there, see my extended family and stuff like that. But I want to live in Australia, not Cyprus. Drew, they never won the war in Ethiopia. I mean, prior to World War II, they conquered it briefly for some years. In National Socialism, you can speak out. Things will be so good though that you won't need to. What the? What the fuck, dude? You can't speak out of National Socialism. They fucking kill anybody who's a dissident. Drew is still trying to assassinate you. I don't think so. I don't think that. I don't see any like. I haven't been attacked by CCP supporters for a long time, I think. Drew, just wanted to say, great job on the Vatnik bonking and then milking. Oh, okay. I'm not going to. National Socialism can only be organized and maintained by fascist powers. Yeah, dude, I don't support fascism. Nike Man says, I would rather live under fascism if I was part of the in-group. But, dude, they will still just fucking slaughter you if you are ever a dissident. If you ever speak out, they'll slaughter you. I had no idea Mussolini's actions in Ethiopia were so horrible, Drew. Mussolini is often viewed as the lesser evil in compared to Nazi and Imperial Japan. Look, it's an interesting thing. Hey, like, I literally did a podcast. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, I literally have a podcast with a scholar of fascist Italy, John Foote. It was a really interesting podcast. And he makes this point himself. He said, it's very much seen in the popular imagination that Mussolini is not as bad as Nazis and Imperial Japan. And look, I think that's just simply the case because Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan were so unbelievably evil that anything next to them like looks by comparison not that bad. But to be honest, he committed a genocide in Ethiopia. Killed hundreds of thousands of people. Like, it was still a really brutal regime, and they probably were responsible for killing more than 1 million people in terms of dissidents and like racial enemies and all this stuff. And they're also full participants in the Holocaust. Would you consider Islam as fascist or something else entirely? I do think Islamism is a form of fascism. My personal take, I think that Islamism is like the Islamic world's reaction to modernity. If you think of fascism as a far right backlash to modernity and the Enlightenment values, then in that sense, I definitely think you could see Islamism as like a fascist ideology. Drew ignoring his chat. Wait, Aussie. Why do you have a Greek accent then? I don't have a Greek accent, dude. Well, it's so funny. When I went to America in 2019, people were asking me, are you British? I don't know why. People thought I had a British accent for some reason. Why would you want to speak out if the government was good? But dude, like the Nazis exterminated Germans that they considered to be undesirables. Of course I'd speak out against that. I'm Christian. I believe that all human beings have an innate worth, right? Someone's trying to label Drew as an ethno-nationalist, and I'm not an ethno-nationalist. I want to lower migration, and like I don't want to see these like, you know, for example, in Britain right now, there's huge macultural change, and I think a lot of the cultural change is unfortunately for the worse. But I'm not like a fucking race nationalist at all. Like my concern is culture.
I'm not 100% on board with that.
Yeah, I'm interested in what you think. Have you seen, for example, like there are towns, for example, in Britain where like there's pretty bad Islamist type sectarianism, where like, you know, some really extremist attitudes exist in the town, and like, you know, there's not much assimilation and integration and stuff like that. Like that's the type of thing that I have a problem with. Like, what do you think about that type of thing that we're seeing in Britain right now?
I don't have answers, but I have further questions, I think.
Okay.
So, question number one is...
And I want to say, this is a good point by Stringer Bell. Mussolini was responsible for the first recorded use of poisonous gas on a civilian population as a weapon of war in Ethiopia in the 30s. So yeah, he was extremely brutal. It's just that people often historically remember him as less worse than Nazis because obviously like the Nazis literally killed 50 million people. But yeah, sorry, what were you going to say about the whole Britain situation?
Well, it's actually more about just the conversation that extends into other countries as well. Like you could have the same one about Germany, or it hasn't happened
like
in
Europe.
Australia yet.
A lot of it is happening in Europe, right?
Yeah, and I think that the attempt to safeguard a particular type of culture, it's very conservative, right? In the sense that conservatives want to hold on to how things are, maintain some type of status quo with an innate fear or need to protect. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I fully appreciate it. So then the question becomes, but I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you.
What I wanted to say, just really quickly, I want to say like, it's not that I want to preserve like an unjust status quo. Like I'm actually like a reformist, right? Like I'm like a reformist technocrat. If I was in government, I would do all this reform to like improve the housing market, all these different things, right? I'm definitely not a conservative in the sense of like maintaining the status quo. What I'm talking about is more like the core democratic values of our civilization today in the West, like, you know, liberal individual freedoms. That's what I want to protect. like that type of culture. And I don't want it to be like destroyed by sectarian infighting and all this sort of stuff that, you know, because you see people who've arrived in Britain and like these people might not actually agree with a lot of these individual freedoms. You see, for example, there was a Labour MP who literally called for blasphemy laws to be introduced in Britain. And that's the type of thing where like I've got a big problem with it, right? Like they're trying, like that's an example where like somebody who's quite sectarian, a political Islamist, is trying to reform and change the political culture of Britain in a way that I think is like fundamentally worse, if you get what I mean.
I do, but what I was more going to angle at is that I think we have a lot of examples of mass migration events, and often it's not necessarily the culture or group of people, that's being onboarded that has the capacity to really affect the culture that's already there. The culture that's already there's levels of liberalism are what allow for new cultures to come in and enforce themselves upon the pre-existing culture. So my argument wouldn't necessarily be for or against, but I think that we actually have a responsibility to ourselves. And I think there might be an in-between. There might be an in-between of being like, hey, mass migration, sure, why not? If where you are sucks, come here, get a job, contribute to the country, pay tax. We also have a culture here, which we do. We're not saying it's better or worse, or that you have to hide yourself or whatever, but this is how we do stuff here. And you know, like, and even though I'm not entirely sure about the wording of all of this stuff, but I think you know what I mean, right?
This is what I would say though, right? Like, I think a problem with it is almost like we've got so much cultural relativism in the West where people won't even say that we have a good culture that's worth preserving. And therefore, like, there's no one can have a response when you have like people who might migrate to a country and they still harbor quite radical extremist Islamist views, right? Like, a lot of people on the left have a problem saying, yeah, that's bad. That's a bad form of culture. We don't want that. And look, the thing about culture versus race is you can change culture. Somebody like, right, I'm Greek Cypriot by ethnicity, but culturally, I feel like fully Australian, right? I feel like anybody can become culturally Australian. I think the problem is that there are some people who come to the country who don't want to become culturally Australian, and they actually might look down on, like, it was interesting. I had a guest on last night, Stella Sens. She's a Greek political pundit in Britain, and she's like a leftist and everything. But she was freely saying to me, like, part of the problem with a lot of this Islamist extremism in Britain is that a lot of these groups will actually be racist to the native population of British people. Like, they will be racist against white people. And that was actually a factor in the grooming gang scandal in Britain, for example, where there were literally these gangs of predominantly Pakistani men, predominantly was Pakistani, and they were targeting in particular really poor girls from broken homes and stuff like that from British family. So it was like targeting like low SES white British girls, right? And particularly exploiting the fact that these girls came from broken families, broken communities. They'd slipped through the cracks in the society, and therefore they were much more vulnerable to be abused. And like, there were one of the ringleaders, I think it was in Rotherham, one of the ringleaders, like in court, he literally said, well, the girls were all sluts. The white British people teach their women to be sluts. And like, that is like objectively like a racially like that's race hatred. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a big problem where a lot of leftists won't even acknowledge that, because their whole thing is like, to even acknowledge that people can be racist to white people, like that's itself racist, blah, blah, blah. But in that case, you had an immigrant group that had a kind of culturally supremacist view of like themselves as Muslims, and they literally victimized and preyed upon low SES girls, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and stuff like that. And this isn't even right-wing propaganda. Like, this is all like literally documented in independent inquiries. And like, yeah, transcripts from the courts show that there were outbursts by some of the ringleaders who were literally saying, well, the girls are all sluts. It's the British people's fault because the British people have taught their girls to be sluts and stuff. Like, that's race hatred, right? And that I think is such a disaster in terms of, like assimilation and culture. Like, that is itself, I called it a Chernobyl moment for multiculturalism. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, I just think that speaks to what I was saying, really, is that it's about the place that you end up at and the extent to which the place you end up at is willing to put up with that shit. That's the real issue. It's like, are you going to allow for people with extremist ideologies to come into your country to build better lives? Yes, of course. That's how this shit happens. That's how migration. But let me finish. Are you going to allow them to practice that shit and keep that shit intergenerationally No, that's the deal in a way. That's the deal. You can't, and I'm not saying everybody should have to assimilate. I'm not saying that at all. Like a wonderful thing about this country is that that's not how we do things. But there are certain edges on the way that people view the world, which I think could definitely well be rounded. And one of them is that we are better than you, for example.
Like one of the big problems, right? Like there were literally a couple Shia mosques in Western Sydney that held memorial services for Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, even though Hezbollah is a listed terrorist organization. And like, I look at that, I'm like, that we have a failed migration policy if that is happening in the country, because obviously 50 years ago, there weren't going to be Nasrallah memorials in Australia. That just would never have happened. So it's like, my position on this, I think people need to meet character tests, and they have to meet values tests and actually want to properly integrate into the society and stuff like that. And a part of that is you can't fucking support a terrorist group like Hezbollah or Hamas, etc. Drew, do you identify as a person of color? No, I'm not a person of color. You know what's so funny? You know what's so funny? I used to say that as like a troll, like, because what happened is I was protesting back in like 2019, 2020 against the Chinese government, and the social alternative guys would all call me like a white nationalist. So as like a troll, I started saying I was like a person of color. But you know, it's so fun. And then the Nazis found those old tweets, and they're like, "Oh, Drew doesn't identify as white, therefore we must deport him." But the funny thing is, have you ever heard about this? You know, Yanis Varoufakis, that Greek guy who was he was the minister of finance in Greece or whatever, the treasurer of Greece. He when he was at university in Britain, he was the chair of a Black and Middle Eastern Students Committee, a BAME committee, and people clowned on him for that because he's not a black guy, he's like a Greek guy. And like he just said, well, I believe Greeks are politically black, which is so funny. Like such an unhinged comment.
That's so good.
So that's funny. Actually, it's so ideological.
That's right. Greeks are politically black.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty sure that's what Varoufakis said. I was like, so fucking true, unbelievably true.
Now I can identify as a Greek man so that Greek I can identify as politically black.
So good. Let's watch a bit more of the stream.
Well, like from before, is like totally unthinkable. Like I would like get black bagged if I tried to enter the US. Probably it's probably been like that for like the last 5 years. No, I mean, not that I want to. That's the best thing about it. Is like people make fun of me. You would get arrested if you try to enter the US. It's like, why would I want to enter the US? You guys think you're like the place that every single person wants to go to?
So does my family now. So it's a
little bit yeah.
Wait, does Adu actually hate Greeks? I don't know if that's true.
Talking about me.
Yeah. No, I understand.
People in the US think that.
Are you a Cypriot, by the way?
Are you asking because of Drew Pavlou?
Are you a Cypriot Australian?
As far as I know, no. The US is like, why would I want to enter the US? You guys think you're like the place that every single person wants to go to? Why would I want to go there?
So does my family now. So
Drew Pavlou mentioned.
Yeah, I'm talking about me.
Yeah. No, I understand.
People in the US think that.
Are you a Cypriot, by the way?
So funny how you say Cypriot.
Are you asking because of Drew Pavlou?
Are you a Cypriot Australian?
As far as I know, no.
What is your
Greek family history?
What's your ethnic background?
Greek something? Why are you asking?
What kind of Greek?
Italian.
Oh, what? No. Which islands?
As far as I know, Anatolia and then Athens.
Okay.
So what are you asking?
Like Drew
you know what your people did to us in Anatolia. What did you do?
Well, they actually the Turkish actually committed genocide against like the Greeks.
Am I unlocking epigenetic memories right now?
Yeah, I have intergenerational trauma.
Isn't it funny though? Like they start laughing about like Greeks being genocided, like haha, epigenetic memories, intergenerational trauma. Meanwhile, like their literal whole thing is like the Nakba is like the singular event upon which the universe turns. But they're like mocking the fact that Greeks got genocided from Turkey. I'm going to clip that up. Fuck that.
It's like the Israelis. That's why they get to do genocide. So I get to do genocide too. And you're Turkish. So you
should come to America.
Yeah. I know. The reason why I say this is because like you got two sides of the same coin. You got the Drew Pavlov and you got Bad Empanada.
Drew Pavlov is hilarious by accident. That's the problem. He thinks he's funny, like not by accident. And I can't let that stand.
Yeah, no, he's repulsive. He's disgusting.
You've been over.
Fucking hell. It's fucking funny, dude.
This story on your stream, haven't you? Is it worth going over it again?
What, his dad
him? Like Drew Pavlou origin story? No, not that. The Drew Pavlou origin story. Like he was like a pathetic. Like he actually contacted me 4 or 5 years ago. Like, hey man, I really like your videos. Blah blah blah. He was trying to frame himself as like a left critic of China during the Hong Kong protest era. And I was actually like I wasn't like against the protest. I was like sort of let them protest. Why not? There's no need to do this. The Chinese system is strong enough to withstand protests. You shouldn't react in this way. Was my sort of criticism of it. And Drew Pavlou saw me as like an ally because of that, which disgusts me. And he started DMing me. And
that's not even true.
Then, like within a couple of years of that, the anti-China grift, when that's your whole personality, inevitably leads to just the far right, basically. Because where else is that?
So he now thinks I'm far right. Insane.
That going to go when that's the only facet of your personality, like the big Western enemy. I'm against that.
Firebomb the Chinese embassy or something?
What the fuck, dude? He said I firebombed the Chinese embassy. What the actual fuck? Fucking mental cases.
Allegedly, he was in the UK. I don't know why he was in the UK for some reason, and a bomb threat was called in the Chinese embassy from his email, and he got arrested for that. And then I don't know what happened
email.
After that, from his email.
How do you get out of that? Damn, the Atlantic Council has incredible connections.
So
that's fucking sick, dude. It wasn't my email. These guys are fucking evil. These guys are actually fucking evil. I'm gonna have to make a whole video about this. That's sick, dude. That's so sick.
What are they talking about?
So, do you know about? So this was a big part of my origin story. This was before I got ever involved in Israel, Palestine, or whatever. Probably most of the people watching me now have no idea about my origin story as like a protest against the CCP. But in 2022, I was protesting in London. I was in London for the I was in London for what was it? It was in London for for Wimbledon. I was protesting. Hang on 1 second. I just got a text message. Yeah. So I was in London. I was protesting Peng Shuai, the Chinese tennis player who was kidnapped by the Chinese government and basically forcibly disappeared. And I was just waiting to get a flight back to Australia. I was just like waiting around because obviously it's really expensive to get a flight back to Australia. I didn't account for that when I was over there. I didn't have enough money to fly back. It was kind of a disaster. And so I was just bored and I just started going to the Chinese embassy for a couple of days in a row, just like protesting outside and stuff like that. And I was just like holding signs and like I trolled them by like ringing the doorbell over and over again. I've literally got videos of this. I thought I was really funny, like ringing the doorbell of the Chinese embassy. And then I came back one day and like almost straight away, like the Metropolitan Police Diplomatic Protection Unit came over with like guns. They they put me in a rear stack handcuff position, put me up, and like really hardcore arrested me, treated me like a terrorist. And I only found out like 4 hours later that the real reason they went so hard against me was because the Chinese embassy had called up and said, "Oh, we've got a bomb threat from Drew Pavlu." And it turns out like they never let me properly see this email until like 3 a.m. And they showed it to me in the investigation room or whatever, in the interrogation room at 3 a.m. And it was literally someone had created a Proton Mail in my name. Proton Mail hides your IP address. So anybody can do this to anyone, right? Somebody could literally do George, like Bad Empanada's real name is George Ganitis. Somebody could literally do George Ganitis at blah, 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 Proton Mail and just do this, right? This is what they did to me. They did that to me. They just said, "Hi, this is Drew. Regards." They said, "Hi, this is Drew. I'll bomb the embassy at 12 o'clock today. Regards, Drew." Literally, that was the message. And based off that, that was the extent of the evidence against me. Based off that, the Metropolitan Police treated me as a terrorist. And to this day, I'm so fucking pissed off that the Metropolitan Police treated it so seriously because, dude, it's fucking bullshit. Like, anybody can create a fake email address in anybody's name. Like, it still pisses me off so much to this day. And they're like laughing about it. Ha, ha, ha. Fucking sickos. I'm actually...
Drew Pavlu is someone who has, to be clear, Drew Pavlu is someone who originated the claim that I was arrested for like child rape. Okay,
I didn't even say that.
I'm going to tell you here is with the amount of charitability that someone like that deserves. Drew Pavlu was arrested because he's the one who called in the bomb threat and he was planning to bomb the Chinese embassy. But
fucking hell, dude. Okay, literal defamation moment.
The Met Police heroically forwarded his plan. So Drew Pavlu is a terrorist. Thank you, Met Police.
What happened to me was I basically got swatted, right? I literally got swatted. I got swatted by the Chinese embassy. Like they made a fake email in my name and got me arrested, and I got held for 24 hours as a terror suspect by the Metropolitan Police. I was held incommunicado. I wasn't even allowed to talk to a lawyer or the Australian embassy or anything. It was like literally a horrible experience, right? And this is so funny because Hasan wanted everybody to cry for him. "Oh my God, dude, I was stuck for 10 minutes at the fucking airport because customs was asking me about supporting Hamas. I was stuck at the airport for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, dude, I was literally imprisoned in the fucking prison cell for 24 hours incommunicado because I was fucking swatted." And Hasan's laughing. So honestly, fuck Hasan Piker. He deserves it. Fuck him.
Guns to do it. They're an arm there.
Yeah. He would have, they're horrible. They have a horrible track record of stopping pedophilia and sexual assault. But apparently, this one guy was so incompetent in his in his actions that they were able to make short work of it. How did he get away with it? This is what I'm saying. Like,
there's actually there's multiple videos and images of Drew Pavlu actually being arrested that I could easily work with if I was as petty as he.
Oh, that's true. I'm surprised you don't do that. But in any case, I mean,
he's not big enough. Like he's the most ignorable guy in the world. He's
that's true. He's gonna nut that we just talked about him. He's gonna
do an entire stream about it. It's gonna be 8 hours long.
Yeah.
Like the last time I heard about Drew Pavlu was a couple of weeks ago. Hey Drew, he's the sort of streamer who is so inexperienced and like amateur in what he does that he opens random links from his chat and it's just porn all the time. Every stream, it's the same thing.
That's not true. That's actually funny, but it's not even true.
Like with Mia Khalifa, isn't that what happened?
Honestly, I appreciate having him around. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, here's one point of contention. React-gate. The reason why I had a blockade implemented on Bad Empanada videos for the longest time was because you were one of the YouTubers that was like, "Fuck this guy. This guy is stealing other people's labor. How dare he fucking do this?" And And maybe I'm misremembering, but I think that's what you said initially. So I was like, I'm never gonna watch this fucking dude's videos. Like I was watching your videos at the time.
Do you
but
actually
not on
want to talk
stream.
about the React Gate stuff? Because it might go bad for you.
No, I think
the issue of React content. When you look at React content, do you think it has been a positive? Look at Asmongold. This beast that we have, this dragon. Okay, it's a filthy fucking dragon covered in cockroaches and
Stinky
shit,
dragon.
but it's still a dragon. That's because of React content.
I think there's.
Hang on,
I think that's fair.
Hang on, I'm gonna pause the stream for a second because my mum just arrived at my house, and we're doing dinner. So I might have to head soon, guys. I'm just gonna pause the stream for a second.
Hello, everybody. My mother has not visited me. I'm not entirely sure what country my mother is even in. Let's use this opportunity to say terrible things about Drew Pavlou. I am not going to moderate the chat, so let's do it. Let's get weird. No one? Can I ask Drew if he ever went by the name Amy Waffles? You guys are actually very, very funny. Definitely happy to be here. I was doing a job application for a role I'm not even sure I really want. So this was a much better thing to do. Drew has... Yeah, Jack, I'll ask him. That's why Drew Net used to buffer a lot, too much porn. Yeah, look, he's a 25-year-old strapping young person of color. All right, ask me something while I'm here. Help me kill my time, please. How many times has he jacked under his desk, do you think? I don't know. Because usually the way that I can tell is he's making eye contact through the camera. And when we lock eyes for an extended period of time, you can see the corner of his lips starts to quiver. I think that's him coming. Drew's a known gooner. Ain't we all whacker? Has Drew ever dated a Chinese girl? We'll have to ask him. Jack Croydon. He definitely jacked twice this stream. Twice, you reckon? How long's it been? That's why he puts the laptop there. Hey, guess why Drew desk is so big? Why, Dodo? What's a Kuma? String a bell?
My mom's gonna say hello on the stream, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up because I gotta do dinner with me.
Please don't.
My mom says hello on the stream to everyone. Very funny.
Hey, Drew's mom, don't read the chat.
Yeah, there's horrible chat messages here. Listen, I could keep going for another hour. I wish I could. I've got to go do dinner with my mum because she visits me once a week. I've got to have dinner. But this has been funny. It's been funny. I'm happy that we got to the part where they had a deranged psycho thing about me. Mum, they're saying, look, read this comment.
Oh, what?
Mum, read that comment.
You're so lucky you have a Greek mum. I have an Ashkenazi Jewish mum.
No, that's fucked up. That's fucked.
What?
Oh, actually, Mum, we were just talking about Bad Empanada. He said psycho things about you, right? Bad Empanada, that guy. Yeah. A lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of psycho people have attacked my family just because of me. Okay, listen, guys. Thank you. It was very fun. Josh, I'm sorry that I have to go. I'll do dinner now, but I'm gonna actually be back streaming in about 2 hours' time because I've got I'm doing a big debate with Purple Pingers and actually I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, I know he's annoying, right? I don't know if Purple Pingers is gonna join, but it definitely his friend Adu is gonna join. I hope it works.
Yeah. All right. If you can't get Purple Pingers on, let me know and I'll dress up as him and I'll pretend to be him.
Yeah, here. And listen, someone said do a cooking stream. Yeah, next time I actually will. That's actually a good idea. But what was I going to say? Josh, thank you so much for joining. And I like it having you as a regular guest on the Drew Pavlich show. I'm literally just going to cross to you many times because it's always so much more helpful when you've got people to talk to as well.
Pleasure. I should give me a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Josh Davelstein. Someone says, you look like you have a wholesome relationship with your mum, Drew. Yeah, facts, dude. Facts. And I've even got a good relationship with my dad, believe it or not. People don't realize. But good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. And tune back in about 2 hours. I'm going to be doing a big debate. Mum, honestly,
catch you later.
We'll do a stream with you and debate sometime. But yeah, honestly, guys, thank you so much. And I'll be back on in about 2 hours. And thank you so much, Josh. And thank you to everybody who's been watching. I appreciate it. Even the crazy people. Thank you so much. Sweet.